They were like people I had never seen before. "Congrats on marrying my brother. Your dress is cute, but don't you think mine looks better?" my sister-in-law said. "Oh, saying that will make the bride feel bad," she continued, pretending to joke. It was supposed to be my happiest day, but in the bridal dressing room, I was left speechless by my sister-in-law and mother-in-law's rude comments. They spoke with an arrogant tone, and I was shocked. My sister-in-law's outfit was unbelievable. She wore a dress so white it could compete with any bride's dress. It had a slit showing off her legs, and she wrapped fur around her off-the-shoulder top. My mother-in-law looked at her daughter with admiration, while my husband stared at his family coldly. I never thought I'd be treated so badly on my wedding day. It was too much to handle. Looking back, it's no wonder my sister-in-law's matchmaking efforts ended in failure with behavior like that, even at someone else's wedding. My name is Annaya. I was born in a coastal town and grew up in a regular family. When I went to a state university, I stayed with my maternal grandmother, who lived nearby. Living with grandma, who had always pampered me, was a dream come true. Her well-kept house had a mix of Western and traditional styles, and it had a warm, nostalgic atmosphere. I loved sitting on the balcony, overlooking the small garden, chatting with grandma while eating seasonal fruits. Even after I got a job, I stayed there. When grandma got sick, I took care of the house, hoping she'd come back, but that wish never came true. When she could no longer live on her own, she moved to a care home in my hometown. "I want to take care of grandma," I said, but she smiled and told me, "You've done enough, Annaya. I want you to find happiness." After grandma passed away, I married Jesse, who had always been there for me. Now we live in the house filled with grandma's memories, but what should have been a peaceful newlywed life is constantly interrupted by those two women. "How did someone as plain-looking and skinny as you marry my brother?" my sister-in-law once asked me. One day, my mother-in-law asked me to make lunch for my sister-in-law while she went to a neighborhood meeting. Instead of being thankful, my sister-in-law greeted me with sarcasm. I wanted to leave, but I knew they would just come to my house if I did. "Ask your brother," my sister-in-law said, satisfied with her own conclusion. "Well, maybe you two are a good match since he's not that great either." She then gulped down the curry I made. She probably thinks that eating small bites in front of men makes her more attractive. My sister-in-law may seem mean, but what's truly scary is that she doesn't even realize how rude she is. She looks down on everyone, including me and her own brother, without a second thought. It's exhausting. My mother-in-law, who raised her, is no better. Instead of disliking me, my mother-in-law focuses on making her daughter look good by criticizing me and ordering me around. That's why she calls me for these kinds of tasks. If I ignored my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law would either call me nonstop or ring my doorbell endlessly. It was like living in a nightmare. My mother-in-law always said her daughter was the most important person in her life and never really cared about her son, my husband. My husband insists he was never mistreated, but he also says he was never given much attention. His father went on a work trip 10 years ago and never came back. Even after retiring, he still sends money for living expenses. So it seems neither my mother-in-law nor sister-in-law care about him. My husband tries to talk to them about their behavior, but they never listen. To them, he's just someone else to look down on. Watching my husband suffer hurt more than my own struggles, and I often gave in to my mother-in-law's demands, which was a mistake. As a result, both of them became more unbearable, and the stress began to affect our marriage. We knew we couldn't continue like this. Determined, my husband and I decided to come up with a plan. Just as we were about to put it into action, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law showed up unexpectedly at our house on a hot summer day. My husband was at work, so I reluctantly greeted them. "Hello, sister-in-law, what brings you here?" I asked. "Just because we're your cute sister-in-law and mother-in-law doesn't mean we need a reason to visit. You should fix that stingy attitude. It's hot outside. Let us in." "You're so inconsiderate," she replied. I really didn't want to let them into grandma's house, but to avoid a scene, I had no choice. I served them coffee and some cookies I had baked the day before. "No cake?" they asked. "I'm sorry, you came unexpectedly," I explained. "Well, it's okay. Your cooking is decent, even if a bit plain," they said. I was surprised to hear them compliment me, but it felt more unsettling than pleasant. "The house is old, but it's spacious. It's passable," they remarked. To me, grandma's house was perfect. Then, out of nowhere, my mother-in-law announced, my sister-in-law, is getting married." I was stunned for a moment, but considering how she always bragged about her body and bold approach with men, it wasn't entirely shocking. It seemed to work on gullible guys or those looking for some fun. "Is it the guy you had an affair with?" I asked. remembering a man she once mentioned. It wasn't an affair, we just met at the wrong time. It's true love, she said, trying to justify it. But no, not him. The one who recently approached you, I continued. I just noticed him staring at me and went up to him first. But no, not him either, she replied. Then who? I asked. Elle met him at a speed dating event. He's the son of a wealthy man, my mother-in-law announced proudly. That's right. I'm having a shotgun wedding with a rich guy. Good for me. Unlike your brother who married someone like you, my sister-in-law said with a smirk, adding that she was already pregnant. She didn't miss the chance to insult me. The speed dating event had been about 3 months ago, and she likely charmed an unsuspecting man. I felt sorry for him and his family. Did you break up with the other guys? I asked. Not yet. They all love me so much. I can't bear to tell them, she said smugly, but it's inevitable. I'm just too lovable, she boasted. What really drove her, though, was money. I had a feeling this was the case, but I still wondered if the child was even from that wealthy man. Then they revealed their true motive. We want to use this house for the pre-wedding family introduction. I was so disgusted that I immediately said, no way. They glared at me, and to avoid an argument, I tried to smooth things over. I think the groom's family would want to see the bride's real home. Besides, our place is small and a bit messy, I explained. Then clean it up and stop smoking inside, my sister-in-law snapped. But won't they find it strange to come to the bride's brother's house? I asked. You're not getting it, she replied. We'll just say, this is my family's home. What if they find out the truth? I pushed. As long as you and your husband stay quiet, it'll be fine. Once we're married, he's mine, and I'm pregnant, so it's not that simple, she said. Why don't you just make this house belong to mom and dad? She suggested. Her outrageous idea left me speechless. Oh, what a great idea. This house is old, but we'll take it, she added. This is my grandma's house. It's not just my decision, I said, shocked. Don't you know? Once you're married, everything belongs to the husband's family, my sister-in-law retorted. I've never heard of such a rule, I replied, confused. Well, learn it now. What's yours is ours, she said confidently. So next Sunday, we'll bring the fiancé and his family. Oh, and make a fancy meal. We'll tell them Elle made it, and change the curtains to match Elle's style, she added. They left after dumping all their demands on me, leaving me seething with anger and a pile of dirty dishes. That night, my husband, feeling guilty, said, I'm sorry, we won't let them use the house. Of course not, but even if we refuse, they'll just show up anyway. Maybe we should move up our plan, I suggested. I could handle them bullying me, but I couldn't stand them disrespecting grandma's house. We'll get back at them for everything, so brace yourself, my husband said, determined. The next day, I made several phone calls. Despite the last-minute change, everyone was understanding, and I felt grateful. Once everything was set, I called my mother-in-law. Mother-in-law, I want Elle's wedding to be a success. Can we have a bit more time? We're thinking of remodeling the house to make it more suitable for the couple, I said, playing along. Annaya, I misunderstood you. You're such a good person, she said, thinking I was on their side. But we have wedding preparations to deal with, she added, still focused on their plans. Please hurry up, my mother-in-law said. I understand. We'll be ready in 3 weeks. In the meantime, why don't you start looking for a wedding venue? I suggested. You're so thoughtful, it's almost scary. But yes, we'll leave the introduction to you and focus on the wedding, she replied. It felt like our first pleasant conversation, and probably the last. They had no idea what was coming and wouldn't visit the house until the big day. My husband and I had a tight deadline, but we worked non-stop, even sacrificing sleep. We knew it was for our future. 3 weeks later, the day my mother-in-law had set for the family introduction finally arrived. My husband and I anxiously waited for her call. I could already imagine the fury on her face. At exactly 10 a.m., my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. Annaya, what have you done? She screamed, her voice hysterical. I thought you'd appreciate it. I prepared the perfect vacant land and a meal for you and Elle. I calmly replied. What have you done? She screamed again, but her words were hard to understand. The place where she had taken her fiancé's family, claiming it was her home, was no longer grandma's house. I had arranged for a new home and meal, but they clearly weren't happy. I realized my mother-in-law wanted me to explain what was going on. I responded sweetly. I'm sorry if I upset you. Could you put me on speaker so the groom's mother can hear? The shouting stopped, and a polite voice came on the line. Are you Aaron's mother? I asked. It seems there's been some misunderstanding. I pretended to confuse the groom with several men my sister-in-law had been involved with. Oh, is it Ivan or Phil? I listed more names. Annaya, stop it. My mother-in-law shrieked louder than ever before. Then the call abruptly ended. I could imagine them in the middle of a huge argument. That felt good, I said with a smile. My husband, who had listened to the whole conversation, looked at me apologetically. I'm sorry for making you do that. I should have handled it, he said. No, remember I told you I wanted to get back at them for what they did to Grandma's house. I reminded him. Grandma always wanted me to be happy. I love that house, but you are more important to me. In truth, my mother, Grandma's heir, had already planned to demolish the house. It wasn't earthquake resistant, and maintaining such an old place was difficult. I had insisted on staying because I loved it, but after dealing with my in-laws, I changed my mind. I didn't want them to ruin Grandma's house, but I also didn't want to leave my husband. So, I decided to say goodbye to the house with fond memories. That's why I asked my husband to find a new job, and we prepared to move back to my hometown. We just sped up our plans. I had Grandma's house demolished and built a small dog house in the middle of the vacant lot, with a tag that read L. It was designed like a log cabin, and we even went slightly over budget for it. I filled a small dish with the most expensive dog food from the pet store. Everything was set. Grandma liked you. She wouldn't want us to break up because of that house. Annaya, I promise I won't waste this chance you've given me, my husband said earnestly. I made the decision because I believed in him. A year and a half has passed since then. After we moved to my hometown, my husband, who was initially a bit unsure about the tough fisherman neighbors, is now more loved by them than I am. The coastal town's breeze and seafood-rich dishes seem to suit him well. His once pale complexion has completely changed. Seeing him happily enjoy grilled salmon for dinner fills me with peace and contentment. Did you get any emails today? I asked one evening. No, nothing recently. They're probably too busy, he replied. We haven't been in touch with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law since the incident. My husband's phone is the only connection we have with them. We later heard about the doghouse fiasco from a neighbor who had been close to Grandma. Apparently, when my mother-in-law and sister-in-law brought the fiancé's family to see what they claimed was their home, they found nothing but the demolished lot with the little doghouse and a dish filled with expensive dog food. The luxurious smell from the food must have added to their embarrassment. The two were furious, accusing me of harassing them, but that wasn't the worst part. After hearing hints about my sister-in-law's questionable taste in men during a phone call, the fiancé's family confronted her. She couldn't give them any clear answers, so they hired a private detective. The investigation revealed all of her lies and past relationships. This led to a DNA test for the unborn child, and it was confirmed that the baby wasn't the wealthy man's. Naturally, the engagement was called off. The baby's real father turned out to be another man she had been seeing. Luckily for her, he was thrilled to have a child with her, and the two ended up getting married. However, the man's mother, who adored her son, wasn't happy about him marrying an older woman with a questionable past. Furious, she insisted that they live together. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law, upset that her daughter had been taken, rented an apartment near the newlyweds, and the two mothers seemed to clash daily. Sister-in-law, who had dreamed of marrying rich and living a luxurious life, now seems worn out. She's constantly bullied by her mother-in-law and has to juggle household chores and childcare. But there is a bright side, her husband adores their baby, so it's really up to them to manage their life. One day, my husband's phone rings. Oh, it's an invitation for drinks from my dad, he says. His father has really warmed up to him. I enjoy his stories, and my mother-in-law always prepares my favorite dishes, he added. I realize now that my own mother never cared about my favorite things. This is what family feels like, he murmured. I reassured him. Don't worry, you'll be the kind of parent who knows all their child's favorites. As I gently rubbed my growing belly, he smiled warmly. I feel like we can make that happen in this home, he said, looking up at the beautiful caramel-colored beam on the ceiling. That beam came from Grandma's house when we demolished it, and we had it incorporated into our new home as a reminder of her. It was my husband's idea to keep the beam, while I had just wanted to tear everything down. That's why I chose a future with him. Let's make this house as wonderful as Grandma's, I said. Yes, absolutely, he agreed. In our small house, in this peaceful coastal town where you can hear the sound of the waves, we are building our happiness.
You gave away my room? I said, standing in the hallway like a stranger in my own childhood home. Without even asking me? Lexi didn't look up from her phone. You weren't using it. I blinked hard. The walls were bubblegum pink now with cartoon decals of unicorns and rainbows. My old bookshelf was gone. The desk I bought in college with my first paycheck, gone. In its place were bunk beds, 3 of them, a pastel explosion of chaos and glitter. I was using it, I said, voice tight. I come home every holiday. I stored my things here. Lexi shrugged. We needed the space. The girls are growing. You can stay in the guest room, or maybe a hotel if it's too crowded. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My jaw was clenched so tight it felt like my teeth might crack. My name's Melanie. I'm 36, a CPA, and apparently, according to my family, a walking ATM with no emotional needs or spatial requirements. 15 years ago, I co-signed the mortgage on this house. My parents were drowning in debt, and I was fresh out of grad school with a shiny new job and a bleeding heart. They cried. I signed. Then I paid every single month. And now my room was a daycare. Mom said you'd understand, Lexi added, still scrolling. She said you're practical like that. I turned around and walked back down the hallway past the framed photos of Lexi's wedding, divorced now, Lexi's baby shower, 3 kids later, Lexi at Disneyland with my parents, me noticeably absent in every single frame. In the kitchen, Evelyn was stirring something on the stove, smelled like her famous chicken and rice. I used to beg for it on my birthdays. Now it just made my stomach turn. Hi, honey, she said too brightly. Lexi told you about the room? She didn't tell me. I saw it. Evelyn wiped her hands on a dish towel and gave me that look, half pity, half exasperation. It's just a room, Melanie. You don't even live here. I paid for it. She blinked. What do you mean? I pay the mortgage, have been paying it for years. Oh, sweetheart, she said, laughing like I'd made a joke. You co-signed. That's not the same. I stared at her. I've been making the payments every month. You know that. She waved a hand like she was swatting away a fly. Well, it all goes to the same place. We're family. That word. Family. They used it like a leash. Lexi walked in with Desmond trailing behind her. He was 9 now, taller than I remembered. He gave me a shy smile. Hi, Aunt Mel. Hey, kiddo. I smiled back, but it felt like my face might crack from the effort. Dinner's almost ready, Evelyn said. Set the table, would you? I didn't move. Melanie, she asked again, like I hadn't heard her. I'm not staying, I said. I just came to drop off the gifts. Lexi rolled her eyes. You're so dramatic. I turned to her. You took my room. It's a house, not a museum, she said, arms crossed. You live in the city. You have your own place. Why do you care? Because I paid for this one, I wanted to scream. Because I gave up vacations and new clothes and goddamn therapy to make sure you all had a roof over your heads. Because I thought, stupidly, naively, that one day they'd say thank you. Instead, they gave my bed to a toddler who still pees the sheets. I'll be back tomorrow, I said, heading toward the door. For what? Evelyn called after me. To drop off a delivery. What delivery? You'll see. I slammed the door behind me, got in my car, and drove without turning on the radio. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, not from sadness, not even from anger, from clarity. I called Sadie as soon as I got home. Hey, she answered. How's the circus? They gave my room to Lexi's kids. There was a pause. You're kidding. They painted it, took out all my stuff, didn't even tell me. Sadie hissed. Girl, I swear, if I ever meet your mother, they want me to pay for renovations. What? New carpets, paint, lighting for Lexi's fresh start. There was a long silence. Then, you're kidding? I wish. Sadie's voice dropped. Melanie, this isn't normal. This isn't okay. I know. You've been paying their mortgage for how long? 15 years. Have they ever said thank you? No. Jesus. She exhaled. You need to stop. I did stop, I said, today. There was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Xavier, my neighbor, holding 2 mugs of coffee. I owed you one, he said. I took it, grateful. You have no idea how perfect your timing is. He raised a brow. Rough day? I nodded. You do real estate law, right? Among other things. Good. I need to know how to burn a house down without lighting a match. He smiled slowly. Now, this sounds interesting. I smiled back, but it didn't reach my eyes. You have no idea. The next evening I showed up with a smile and a bag of pastries from that overpriced bakery Evelyn loved. I even wore lipstick. If I was going to be the villain in their story, I might as well look good doing it. Melanie! Evelyn beamed as she opened the door. You didn't have to bring anything. I wanted to, I said sweetly. Thought we could all have a nice dinner. Inside, the house was louder than usual. Lexi's girls were running around in socks. Desmond was on the couch with an iPad, and Gary was yelling at the news on TV. Nothing had changed except everything had. Set the table, would you, Lex? Evelyn called out. Lexi didn't move. I'm feeding Sienna. She's watching YouTube, I muttered. Evelyn ignored me. Melanie, would you mind? Sure, I said, still smiling. I walked to the cabinet and pulled out the same chip plates we'd used since I was a teenager. I set them down one by one, listening to the chaos, the clatter, the complete disregard. Dinner was meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Gary poured himself a beer and didn't look up when I sat down. Lexi finally joined us, plopping Sienna in a booster seat and sighing like she'd just run a marathon. This one's been so fussy, she said. No naps, just screaming. She's probably overstimulated, I said. Lexi rolled her eyes. Thanks, Dr. Phil. Evelyn laughed. Lexi's been doing so well, though. She's really stepping up. I stabbed a green bean and said nothing. We're just so proud, Evelyn continued, reaching over to squeeze Lexi's hand. It's been hard, but she's doing her best. That's all any of us can do. Right, I said, doing her best. Gary finally looked at me. You still working those long hours? Yes. Must be nice to have the energy. I'm beat just from driving Lexi and the kids around. I'm sure, I said. Evelyn cleared her throat. Actually, Melanie, we were hoping to talk to you about something. I put down my fork. Nothing big, she added quickly. Just since Lexi's moving in for a while, we were thinking the house could use a few updates. You know, freshen things up. Like what? Oh, just little things, she said. New carpet in the bedrooms, maybe repaint the hallway, some better lighting in the kitchen. It's all so outdated. Lexi chimed in. The girls have allergies. That carpet is disgusting. You've lived here for over a decade, I said to Evelyn. Now it's a problem? Evelyn smiled like I was being silly. We just thought, since you're so good with money, maybe you could help cover the costs. You always say you want to help. I looked around the table. Gary was chewing. Lexi was texting. Evelyn was waiting for my answer like she'd asked me to pass the salt. How much are we talking? Oh, nothing crazy, she said. A few thousand, maybe 5. We'll keep it simple. Lexi perked up. And maybe some storage units. The garage is a nightmare. I nodded slowly. Sure. Evelyn's face lit up. Really? Oh, thank you, sweetheart. I'll handle everything, I said, standing up. Expect a delivery tomorrow. Lexi blinked. What kind of delivery? You'll see. After dinner, I walked out without saying goodbye. The air outside was cool, sharp. I called Sadie before I even hit the freeway. They want me to pay for renovations, I said. She gasped. You're joking. $5,000. for Lexi's fresh start. That's it, I'm coming over. I'm bringing wine. By the time she showed up, I had the paperwork spread across my dining table. 15 years of mortgage statements, wire transfers, tax records. I didn't need to prove anything to Sadie. I needed to see it all for myself, every dollar, every sacrifice. Sadie stared at the pile. Holy crap, you weren't kidding. I paid every cent. You could have bought your own house by now. I thought I was. She sat down and poured us both a glass. You going to call a lawyer? I already did. Her eyebrows shot up. Who? Xavier, my neighbor. The hot one? I shrugged. He's smart, calm, knows real estate law. Sadie grinned. And he's hot. I rolled my eyes. Focus. She took a sip. So what's the plan? I'm done asking for respect. I'm taking it. Sadie leaned back and raised her glass. To the new Melanie. I clinked mine against hers. To fire, controlled and legal. The next morning, I sent an email to Xavier with scanned copies of everything. Within an hour, he called. You've been paying the full mortgage? He asked. Yes. Every month? Without fail. He whistled. You're not just a co-signer. You're the primary investor. Legally, you have majority claim. I want to reclaim it. I can make that happen. I exhaled. Good, because they want new carpet. Let's give them a new floor to stand on, he said, right before we pull it out from under them. Xavier showed up at my condo that evening with a laptop bag and a calm, unreadable expression. I had coffee ready, but he waved it off. We're going to need something stronger than caffeine, he said, pulling out his laptop and a stack of folders. I cleared the dining table. Everything's here. Statements, transfers, tax returns. I even found the original co-signed paperwork. He sat down and started scanning through the documents like a machine. Every few minutes he'd pause, tap something on the keyboard, then nod to himself. After 20 minutes, he looked up. You weren't kidding. Nope. You've paid every single mortgage payment since 2009, all from your account. Yep. There's no joint account, no shared payments, no reimbursements. I know. He leaned back. This house is legally in your parents' name, but you've been the sole financial contributor for 15 years. That makes you the de facto owner in equity. I frowned. What does that mean? It means you can force a sale. Today, you have grounds to file a partition action. You're not just a co-signer. You're a majority stakeholder. This house? It's basically yours. I blinked. So I can kick them out? Legally? Yes. Morally? He paused. That's your call. I sat down across from him. They gave away my room. They want me to pay for renovations, for Lexi. They've never said thank you, not once. He nodded. Then let's do this clean, no drama, just facts. Good. I'm tired of bleeding quietly. He smiled. Then let's sharpen the knife. We spent the next hour drafting the notice. Xavier explained things in plain terms, never condescending. He made the legal language sound like poetry. You'll serve them with an official intent to partition. That starts the clock. They can either buy you out, unlikely, or the property goes up for sale. You'll get your share. My share? Based on your records, you're entitled to at least 75% of the equity, maybe more. I stared at the screen. I never wanted to do this. I know. But I'm not going to keep sacrificing myself for people who don't see me. Good, he said, because they're about to see you very clearly. The next morning, I printed the documents, signed them, and had them couriered to the house. I tracked the delivery from my desk at work, heart thudding with every update. Delivered 10:12 a.m., signed by L. Williamson, Lexi. By noon, my phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. Then Evelyn called. Then Gary. I didn't answer any of them. At 6:03 p.m., my phone buzzed again. I picked up. You're evicting us? Evelyn's voice was shrill. I'm exercising my legal rights. You're tearing this family apart. No, I said calmly. You did that when you gave away my room like it was a coat closet. Gary got on the line. You think you're going to win this? I already have. You ungrateful little... I hung up. 10 minutes later, a text from Lexi lit up my screen. You're disgusting. You just ruined your niece's birthday. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Sadie. Oh my God, she said when she answered. They got the notice? Yep. Are they freaking out? Like cats in a bathtub, she cackled. I wish I could have seen their faces. Lexi texted me, said I ruined her daughter's birthday. Did you? No, I ruined her free ride. Exactly. I stared out the window, watching the city lights flicker. I don't feel guilty. Good, because you shouldn't. Later that night, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Desmond standing there with a backpack and a confused expression. Hey, he said. Mom said I could come stay with you. I blinked. What? She said you kicked us out, so now I'm your problem. I stepped aside. Come in. He dropped his bag and sat on my couch like he'd done it 100 times. I made him a grilled cheese and sat beside him while he ate. I didn't mean to cause trouble, he said quietly. You didn't? Mom's mad. Grandma's crying. Grandpa said you're selfish. I smiled bitterly. They always say that when I stop giving. He looked at me. You're not selfish. Thanks, kid. He finished his sandwich. Your place is quiet. I like it. I ruffled his hair. Me too. He stayed for an hour, then I drove him back. Lexi didn't even open the door. Evelyn did, eyes red and puffy. You made your point, she said. No, I replied. I'm just getting started. The official eviction notice arrived on a Thursday morning. Certified mail, signature required. I didn't have to be there to see it, but I imagined it in vivid detail. Lexi in her robe, eyeliner smudge, signing the clipboard with a confused frown. Evelyn hovering behind her. Gary yelling from the living room. By 10:30 a.m., my phone was blowing up again. First came the group text. Evelyn. What is this, Melanie? Some kind of joke? Lexi. You're throwing your own family out? You're sick. Gary. Call me. Now. I didn't respond. I was at Xavier's office, sitting across from him while he reviewed the final paperwork. He slid a copy of the notice across the table to me. They have 30 days, he said. After that, we file for court-ordered sale. You're doing everything by the book. Good, I said. I want it clean. He nodded. You sure you're ready for the fallout? I looked him dead in the eye. They gave away my room like I was dead. Now they can live with the consequences. That afternoon, Evelyn called again. I let it go to voicemail. Then she texted. Evelyn, please come to the house. We need to talk. I stared at the message for a full minute before typing back, be there at 5. When I pulled into the driveway, Gary was already standing on the porch like a guard dog. Evelyn was behind him, arms crossed. Lexi was nowhere in sight, but I could hear the girls screaming inside. I walked up calmly, folder in hand. What the hell is this? Gary barked, waving the notice. It's legal, I said, and overdue. You're evicting your own parents? Evelyn's voice cracked. After everything we've done for you? I laughed. Everything you've done for me? Like what? Guilt-tripping me into co-signing your mortgage? Handing my room to Lexi without asking? Expecting me to pay for renovations while you treat me like a stranger? That's not fair. Evelyn snapped. No, I said. What's not fair is paying for a house I don't live in while you pretend I'm just a guest. Lexi appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, jaw tight. You're doing this for attention. I turned to her. No, I'm doing this because I'm done being your safety net." She scoffed. "You're jealous. Always have been." "Of what? The way Mom and Dad bend over backward for you? The way you move in here like you own the place while I pay the bills? You don't have kids. You don't know what it's like." "And I never will," I said, "because I've spent my life raising a family that wasn't mine." Evelyn stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "You're going to destroy this family over money?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm reclaiming what I already paid for. You gave away my room. Now I'm taking back the house." Gary's face turned red. "We'll fight this in court." "Please do," I said. "Discovery will be fun." Lexi's eyes narrowed. "You think you're better than us?" "No," I said, "just smarter and finally done pretending I'm not." I turned and walked back to my car. Evelyn called after me, "You'll regret this, Melanie." I didn't look back. That night, Sadie came over with wine and Thai food. "They actually said you're destroying the family?" she asked, mouthful of noodles. "They really believe it." Sadie shook her head. "They're just mad the ATM grew a spine." I raised my glass. "To insufficient funds." She clinked hers against mine. "To overdrafting their entitlement." We laughed, but it was hollow underneath. The kind of laugh you do when the truth is too heavy to carry in silence. Later, I got a text from Desmond. "Desmond, can I come over again? It's loud here." I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, "Not tonight, but soon." I didn't want to drag him into this. He was the only one who didn't deserve the fallout. The next morning, Xavier called. "They contacted an attorney," he said. "Let me guess. Some guy who specializes in traffic tickets?" "Pretty much. He's already trying to negotiate." "Negotiate what?" "Your silence. They want to know what it'll take for you to walk away." I laughed. "Tell them it's too late for that." I already did. I hung up and sat in the quiet of my condo sipping my coffee. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for their approval. I wasn't hoping for a thank you or a crumb of affection. I was done, and they were finally starting to understand what that meant. Lexi showed up at my condo unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there, arms crossed, eyes wild. "I need to talk," she said, pushing past me before I could answer. I shut the door slowly. "Make it quick." She spun around in my living room like she was surveying an enemy's territory. "You're really doing this? You're really putting Mom and Dad out on the street?" "No one's on the street," I said. "They have options. Sell the house. Buy me out. Move somewhere smaller, like adults." "They're devastated. They're responsible." Lexi threw her hands up. "You're punishing all of us because you're bitter." "No," I said, walking into the kitchen. "I'm protecting myself because I've been used." She followed me. "You think you've had it so hard? You didn't have 3 kids and a divorce. You didn't have to move back in. You didn't have to take my room. It was just a room. It was my room, and you didn't ask." She leaned on the counter. "You've always been cold. You don't even know how to be part of a family." I turned slowly. "I paid for that family's house for 15 years. She flinched. I walked closer. "I gave up vacations, relationships, peace of mind, so you could live rent-free with your kids, so Mom and Dad could brag about their successful daughter while never inviting her to dinner, so you could repaint my walls without asking." Lexi's voice cracked. "They love you. They love what I do for them." She looked away. I softened, just slightly. "Why are you really here, Lexi?" She didn't answer. I waited. Finally, she muttered, "I don't know where we're going to go." I nodded. "That's not my responsibility anymore." She blinked like she didn't understand the words. "Talk to your lawyer," I said. "You've got 3 weeks. Use them." Lexi turned and walked to the door. Before she opened it, she looked back. "You'll die alone, you know." I smiled. "Better alone than surrounded by people who only show up with empty hands." The door slammed shut. I stood there for a long time, breathing. Later that night, I went back to the house. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I let myself in with the spare key still hidden under the fake rock by the porch. Some things never change. The living room was quiet. The lights were low. I walked down the hallway toward my old room. The door was open. The walls were still pink. The bunk beds were still there. But now the room looked abandoned. Toys scattered. Clothes on the floor. No warmth, no soul. I stepped inside. It didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like a memory someone else had tried to erase. I turned to leave and found Desmond standing in the doorway. "I heard the door," he said. "Sorry, I didn't mean to wake anyone." He stepped into the room. "It used to smell like books in here." I smiled. I had a lot of them. "I liked your room," he said. "It felt safe." I crouched down to his level. "Make your own someday, Des. Don't wait for someone to give it to you." He nodded, serious. "Are you mad at Mom?" "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm just done letting people walk all over me." He looked down. "She says you're mean." I tilted my head. "Do I seem mean to you?" He shook his head. "You're just quiet." "Sometimes quiet people have the loudest breaking points." He didn't really get it, but he nodded anyway. I ruffled his hair. "Go back to bed, okay?" He hugged me quick before running off down the hall. I stood there one more minute, then walked out of the house for the last time. The next morning, I signed the final sale initiation forms with Xavier. "It's all in motion," he said. "Once the court approves, the house goes on the market." I nodded. "Let it go." "You okay?" "I'm not sure yet." He smiled gently. "You will be." That night I got a voicemail from Evelyn. Her voice was hoarse. "I don't understand how you can do this to us, after everything. You think you're so strong? One day you'll regret this. One day you'll need us." I deleted the message. No replay, no hesitation. Sadie came over with takeout again. We sat on the floor of my living room eating spring rolls and watching trash TV. "You look lighter," she said. "I feel emptier, but in a good way." She raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Like I finally dropped a backpack full of bricks I didn't know I was carrying." She clinked her soda can against mine. To freedom. To finally choosing myself. And for the first time in years, I meant it. The for sale sign went up on a Tuesday morning. White post, bold red letters. It stood in the front yard like a tombstone. I didn't go see it. I didn't need to. Xavier texted me a photo. "Xavier, it's official." I just replied, "Thank you." By Friday, the house had 3 offers. The market was hot and the location was gold. Xavier handled everything. I barely had to lift a finger. "You'll walk away with a solid check," he told me over lunch. "More than enough for a down payment on something new." I nodded. "I already started looking." He smiled. "You thinking house or condo?" "Something quiet, sunny, all mine." He raised his glass of iced tea. "To no more roommates you didn't choose." I clinked mine against his. The following week, I signed the final sale documents. The house was officially under contract. Closing was scheduled in 30 days. Lexi had stopped texting. Evelyn had stopped calling. Gary, thankfully, had never learned how to leave a voicemail. I thought maybe the storm had passed until the letter came, handwritten, no return address, but I recognized the cursive immediately. Evelyn's. I stood at my kitchen counter, staring at the envelope. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I already knew what it said. I fed it straight through the shredder. Sadie came over that night with a bottle of champagne and a stack of paint swatches. Okay, she said, spreading them out. New place, new vibe. What are we thinking? Earth tones? Jewel tones? Trauma recovery teal? I laughed. Let's start with not beige. She held up a deep green. This one says I burned my past and now I'm thriving. Perfect. We toasted on my balcony, watching the city lights flicker. You did it, she said. You actually did it. Yeah, I said, I did. A week later, I toured a small house on a quiet street. 2 bedrooms, lots of windows, a little garden in the back. No one else's name on the paperwork. No family photos on the walls, just space. Just mine. I made an offer the next day. Xavier helped with the contract. He came by to drop off the paperwork and stayed for coffee. So, he said, glancing around my condo, this chapter's closing. Feels like it. You ready for the next one? I looked at him. You ever wonder what would have happened if I'd said no 15 years ago? He shrugged. You'd be richer, maybe colder, maybe not. I smiled. I think I needed to go through it. He nodded. But you didn't need to stay in it. I signed the last page of the offer. Done, I said. He leaned back in his chair. You know, I've handled a lot of property disputes, but this one had teeth. I laughed. You should have seen the family dinners. I think I got the picture. He stood to leave, then paused. You ever think about what kind of family you'd build if you got to choose? I looked at him, really looked. Yeah, I think about that a lot. He smiled. Me too. After he left, I sat alone for a while. No calls, no texts, no guilt, just peace. The day the house sale closed, I got the wire transfer confirmation. The number was big, not life-changing, but enough to feel like breathing room, enough to feel like justice. I stared at the screen, then closed my laptop. I didn't cry, I didn't celebrate. I just stood up, walked to my window, and looked out at the world that was finally mine to shape. Later that night, I got one last message from Lexi. Lexi. Hope it was worth it. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. The moving truck was already in the driveway when I pulled up. I parked across the street and stepped out slowly, watching as 2 guys in navy shirts hauled a worn-out recliner down the porch steps. The front yard looked like a yard sale no one wanted to shop at. Boxes stacked on the grass, a broken lamp leaning against a suitcase, a plastic bin full of baby clothes. The sold sign in front of the house gleamed in the sunlight. A red sticker slapped across it, under contract. I crossed my arms and stood there just watching. The front door opened. Lexi stood in the doorway, arms crossed, same as me. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. She spotted me and glared. I didn't move. Evelyn came out behind her, holding a box labeled kitchen. She saw me too. Her face crumpled. She walked down the steps slowly, like her bones were heavier than the box she carried. You really did it, she said when she reached the sidewalk. You really sold it. I nodded. This house was our life. It was my investment, I said. You just lived in it. She set the box down on the grass. We were supposed to grow old here. You should have thought about that before you handed my room to Lexi without asking. Her eyes watered. We didn't think you'd care. You never thought I'd say no. Lexi walked down the steps, arms swinging like she was ready to fight. You're proud of this? Kicking your own family out? You think this makes you strong? No, I said. It makes me free. She scoffed. You're cold. I'm healed. Gary came out next, dragging a suitcase with a busted wheel. He didn't look at me, just muttered something under his breath and shoved the bag into the truck. Evelyn picked up the box again and turned to me. One day you'll understand what it means to be a mother, to sacrifice. I do understand, I said. I sacrificed for 15 years. You just never notice. She shook her head. You'll regret this. I already regret not doing it sooner. Lexi stepped closer. You think money replaces love? No, I said, but love without respect is just manipulation, and I'm done being manipulated. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. I paid for this house. I paid for your comfort. I paid for your silence every time you needed something and pretended it was love. Evelyn wiped her face. You're not the only one who's ever struggled, Melanie. No, I said, but I'm the only one who paid for everyone else's struggle like it was my bill. They didn't respond. The movers kept working. I turned to leave. Melanie, a small voice called out. I turned back. Desmond was standing on the porch, a backpack on his shoulders, holding a stuffed dinosaur in one hand. He ran down the steps and across the yard to me. I didn't get to say goodbye, he said, breathless. I crouched down. You okay? He nodded. I just wanted to tell you, I liked your room before it changed. I smiled. Me too. He looked down. I don't want us to be mad forever. I touched his shoulder. We're not mad. We're just learning. He hugged me tight. I hugged him back. Make your own room someday, I whispered. One with a lock, one that's yours. He nodded again, serious. Lexi called from the porch. Desmond, come on. He let go and ran back. I turned and walked to my car. As I opened the door, I heard footsteps behind me. Xavier appeared holding 2 coffees. Thought you might need this? I took one. You always show up at the right time. I try. We stood there side by side, watching the movers load the last of the boxes. You okay? He asked. Not sure. He sipped his coffee. You don't have to be sure. You just have to be done. I looked at him. I'm done. He smiled. Then let's get out of here. We got in our cars and drove away. I didn't look back. The front door swung open and Sadie burst in, carrying a bottle of Prosecco and a bag of chips. Your new place smells like peace and eucalyptus, she said, kicking off her shoes. I almost didn't recognize you without the weight of generational trauma on your back. I laughed, taking the bottle from her. I swapped trauma for throw pillows. The living room was bright. Sunlight poured through the wide windows, catching on the plants I'd finally had time to care for. The walls were painted a soft sage green. No pink, no unicorns, just calm. Where's Xavier? Sadie asked, peering into the kitchen. Picking up cupcakes, he insisted. She raised an eyebrow. From that bougie bakery? Yep. Damn, you must be special. I rolled my eyes but didn't argue. He'd been around a lot lately, not hovering, just present, steady, like a chair you didn't realize you needed until you finally sat down. Sadie plopped onto the couch and looked around. So this is it? No more family drama? No more surprise visits? No more guilt-tripping voicemails? I shook my head. I blocked them all. Lexi, Evelyn, Gary, done. Even Desmond? I paused. No, he has my number, just in case. Sadie nodded like that was the right answer. Good. That kid's got a shot. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Xavier holding a bakery box and 2 coffees. Am I late? He asked. Right on time. We set everything out on the dining table. Cupcakes, chips, wine, coffee. No fancy dinner, no fake smiles. Just people who showed up with full hands and no expectations. Sadie raised her glass. To Melanie, for finally choosing herself. I lifted mine. 2 clean slates. Xavier tapped his coffee against ours. To charge an interest. We laughed and it felt real. Later, after Sadie left and the last cupcake had been demolished, I stood on the back porch with Xavier. The garden was small, but it was mine. I'd planted rosemary and lavender along the fence. The air smelled like freedom. You ever miss it? He asked quietly. The house? He nodded. I thought about it. No, I miss the idea of what it could have been, but not what it was. He leaned on the railing beside me. You did something most people never do. You broke the cycle. I didn't even know I was in one, I said, until I stepped out. He looked at me. What now? I smiled. Now I rest, and then I build. He nodded. If you ever need help with the building part, I'll call you. We stood there in silence for a while, the kind that didn't need filling. Inside, my phone buzzed on the counter, a new message. Desmond, I made a reading nook in my closet. It's not as cool as your room, but it's mine. I smiled, typed back. That's perfect, proud of you. I locked my phone and turned back to Xavier. They taught me the cost of love, I said. He looked at me curious. I learned how to charge interest.
The smell of burnt toast hits me before I even open my eyes. Mom's passive-aggressive breakfast ritual has begun right on schedule. I know exactly what comes next. The loud clattering of pans, the aggressive whisking of eggs, all designed to wake me before my 5 a.m. alarm. I'm Desiree, and this is what supporting your parents looks like at 32. Not the Instagram version with heartwarming captions and filtered photos of Sunday brunches. The real version, where you wake up exhausted in your childhood bedroom because your parents need you close while they're getting back on their feet. That was 5 years ago. Desiree, Mom's voice carries up the stairs. The least you could do is come down and eat with us before work. I pull myself out of bed, muscles aching from yesterday's double shift. The wooden stairs creak under my feet as I descend, each step a reminder that this house needs repairs I can't afford while covering 3 people's expenses. Morning, sweetheart. Dad doesn't look up from his phone. The same phone I pay for, along with everything else since he lost his job at the firm. He's wearing the new golf shirt I pretended not to notice on last month's credit card statement. You're looking thin. Mom pushes a plate of blackened toast toward me. Have you been eating properly in that awful apartment of yours? My apartment is fine, Mom, and I eat just fine. If you'd let us help you find a better place? On what money? The words slip out before I can stop them. The kitchen goes silent. Dad finally looks up, face darkening. You know we're doing our best to get back on track. These things take time. I swallow the bitter laugh threatening to escape. Time. 5 years of time. 60 months of watching my savings disappear while they post Facebook photos from restaurants I can't afford to eat at. I need to get ready for work. I push away from the table, toast untouched. Always running away from conversations, Mom sighs loudly. Just like when we try to talk about you finding someone. 32 and not even dating. I'm halfway up the stairs when I hear the house phone ring. Mom's voice drops to a conspiratorial whisper, but the old house carries sound like a megaphone. Eliza. Yes, the fun money came through. No, she has no idea. Direct deposit makes it so easy. I freeze. Raymond's been dying to try that new golf club. Of course we'll take you both. Desiree's too busy working to check her statements anyway. You should see how she lives, in that tiny apartment, while we— Yes, exactly. We raised her. She owes us this much at least. My hands start shaking. The world tilts sideways as years of exhaustion, sacrifice, and blind trust crystallize into something ugly and sharp. Did you see those photos I sent of the new patio furniture? Mom continues laughing. She thinks we got it secondhand. I know. She's always been so trusting, just like when she was little. I lean against the wall, phone already in hand, banking app open. 5 years of statements I'd skimmed, trusting their desperate pleas for help. 5 years of just until things turn around. The transactions tell a different story. Regular transfers to accounts I don't recognize. Purchases at high-end stores. Restaurant charges that definitely weren't from the discount diners they claimed to frequent. We'll see you Saturday then. Mom's voice floats up. Raymond's so excited about the new clubs. Yes, Desiree will never notice the charge. She's been such a good girl about all this. My vision blurs. Not from tears. I'm too angry for tears. This is the clarity of fury, sharp and cold and perfect. The bedroom door closes behind me with a soft click. I sit at my old desk, the one where I used to do homework, where I signed the papers to become their financial guardian, where I've written countless checks to keep them afloat. My phone buzzes. A text from my sister Zariah. Mom says you're being difficult about breakfast again. Why can't you just be grateful for everything they do for you? I stare at the message, at the years of manipulation suddenly visible in high definition. The guilt trips, the gaslighting, the careful construction of a reality where I'm simultaneously their savior and their ungrateful child. My fingers hover over the keyboard, but I don't respond. Instead, I open a new spreadsheet. Column A, date. Column B, amount. Column C, their story. Column D, the truth. It's time to start keeping receipts. I spend 3 days gathering evidence before I confront them. 3 days of digging through statements, screenshots, and emergency transfers. My spreadsheet grows longer, each entry making my hands shake harder. Family dinner, Mom texts. 6 p.m. sharp. Don't be late like last time. I arrive at 5:55 p.m., manila folder tucked under my arm. Zariah's car is already in the driveway, and I can hear laughter from inside. The sound makes my stomach turn. There's my workaholic, Mom calls from the kitchen, just in time to help set the table. I place the folder on the counter. Actually, I think we should talk first. Dad mutes the TV. What's wrong, Princess? You look stressed. Don't call me that. I pull out the first bank statement. Want to explain these golf club charges? The room temperature drops 10 degrees. Mom's smile freezes. Or maybe these spa weekends, I continue, laying out more papers. The ones you said were doctor's appointments? Desiree? Zariah interrupts. What are you doing? Showing our parents what $131,000 of emergency support looks like. I turn to Dad. Including the inheritance you never mentioned. His face goes red. That money was private. Private? I laugh, the sound harsh even to my ears. Like the trust fund you set up in my name without telling me? Or the credit cards you opened using my information? Mom steps forward, wooden spoon pointed at me like a weapon. How dare you come into our house with these accusations? After everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me? The words taste like acid. You mean lying to me? Manipulating me? Using me as your personal ATM while I live in a shoebox apartment? We raised you, Mom shrieks. Fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head. That's called being a parent. It's not a debt I have to repay. Desiree, stop it, Zariah pleads. You're being dramatic. I slide her the credit card statements. Look at the dates, Zariah. Look at where they were while telling us they couldn't afford groceries. She picks up the papers, hands trembling. Mom, your sister is having some sort of breakdown, Mom says smoothly. You know how she gets, always so high-strung. The inheritance, I cut in. Tell her about Uncle Robert's inheritance. Dad stands up so fast his chair falls backward. That's enough. No, it's not enough. I slam my hand on the table. 5 years. 5 years of working myself to death while you lived it up on my dime. 5 years of guilt trips and manipulation. We are your parents, Mom screams. Everything you give us is a drop in the bucket compared to what we deserve. The room goes silent. Zariah's face drains of color. What you deserve, I repeat slowly. Well, let me tell you what's going to happen now. The money stops. All of it. The cards are canceled. The transfers end today. You can't, Dad starts. I can and I will. And if you try to fight me on this, I'll take every piece of evidence I have to the police. Financial fraud isn't just immoral. It's illegal. Mom bursts into tears. The fake theatrical kind I've seen 1,000 times. How could you do this to us? Your own parents. The same way you did it to me. I turn to Zariah. Check your credit report. Check everything. They're not who we thought they were. I grab my folder and walk toward the door. Behind me, chaos erupts. Mom wails. Dad shouts. Zariah asks questions in an increasingly panicked voice. Desiree, Dad's voice booms. If you walk out that door, you'll what? I turn back one last time. Cut me off? Guilt trip me? Gaslight me into submission? Those tricks don't work anymore. My phone buzzes as I reach my car. A text from Zariah. Just check my accounts. Found weird transfers. Can we talk? Another buzz. Mom. You ungrateful child. After everything we've sacrificed. Then Dad. You're making a huge mistake. Family is everything. I start my car, hands steady for the first time in days. One last text comes through, from my coworker Clark. Still on for coffee tomorrow? Yes, I type back. And I have one hell of a story to tell you. As I drive away, I see Mom and Dad in the rearview mirror, standing on the porch. They look smaller somehow, less intimidating. 5 years of power over me, broken by nothing more than the truth. My apartment may be small, but tonight it feels like a fortress. I pour a glass of wine, open my laptop, and start a new document. Subject line. Notice of immediate financial separation. The real war's just beginning. You look like you haven't slept in days, Clark says, sliding a coffee across the break room table. Still dealing with the family fallout? They're relentless. I show him my phone. 37 missed calls since yesterday. I had to block their numbers. Good. You need boundaries. He leans forward. Have you told Freya what's going on? She's been asking why you seem distracted. Before I can answer, my desk phone rings. The reception desk. Ms. Mason, your father is here to see you. My heart stops. Tell him I'm in a meeting. He says he'll wait. I peek through the office blinds. Dad stands in the lobby, wearing his expensive golf shirt like armor. Several coworkers are already staring. I'll handle this. Clark stands up. Stay here. No, I grab my phone. I need to deal with this myself. The lobby falls silent as I approach. Dad's face is red. His angry face, the one that used to terrify me as a kid. Outside, I say quietly. Now. He follows me to the parking lot, practically vibrating with rage. How dare you ignore our calls? Your mother hasn't slept. How dare I? I turn on him. How dare you show up at my workplace? How dare you harass me after what you've done? We are your parents. Stop saying that like it's a blank check. My voice rises. You stole from me. You lied to me. You manipulated me for years. We needed help. You needed golf clubs, and spa days, and luxury vacations. I pull out my phone. Should I call the police? Show them the fraudulent accounts? His face changes, fear replacing anger. You wouldn't. Try me. One more scene at my office, one more ambush, and I'll burn everything down. He steps back, hands raised. This isn't over. Yes, it is. I turn away, then pause. By the way, I'm meeting with Aunt Gabriella tomorrow. Should be an interesting conversation. The color drains from his face. Back inside, Freya is waiting by my desk. My office. Now. I follow her, preparing my resignation speech. Instead, she closes the door and says, "Tell me everything." So I do. The whole ugly story spills out. 5 years of financial abuse, the manipulation, the fraud. She listens without interrupting, taking notes. First, she says when I finish, I'm giving you a raise. You've been doing senior-level work while dealing with this nightmare. What? Second, I'm having security block your parents. No more surprise visits. Tears burn my eyes. Thank you. Third, she slides a business card across the desk. This is my personal attorney. Use him. My phone buzzes. Zariah. Can we meet? Found something bad. We meet at a coffee shop after work. My sister looks different. Smaller, scared. She slides a folder across the table. I did what you said. Checked everything. Her hands shake. They took out loans in my name. 3 of them. Jesus, Zariah. That's not all. She lowers her voice. Aunt Gabriella called me. Asked about Dad's inheritance. The real amount. My coffee goes cold as she explains. The inheritance wasn't small. It was substantial. 6 figures substantial. All hidden. All spent. While I worked myself to exhaustion supporting them. There's more, a voice says. We look up to find Aunt Gabriella herself standing at our table. She sits down, face grim. Your father didn't just hide his inheritance. He created a fake trust in your name, Desiree. Used it to hide money from me. Money that was supposed to be split between all the siblings. The pieces click together. The mysterious transfers, the hidden accounts, the elaborate web of lies. I'm pressing charges, Gabriella announces. Against both of them. The question is, will you help me? Zariah starts crying. I reach for her hand. Yes, I say firmly. It's time they faced consequences. My phone lights up. Mom calling from a new number. I silence it and look at my aunt. Tell me everything you know. Later that night, I sit in my apartment, surrounded by papers, bank statements, loan documents, trust paperwork. Each page reveals a new betrayal, a new lie. Clark texts, "You okay?" No, I reply honestly, but I will be. I open my laptop and start typing. Dear IRS Fraud Division, sometimes burning bridges isn't enough. Sometimes you need to salt the earth too. Another text comes through, from Freya. Meeting tomorrow. Time to discuss your promotion. I smile. My parents thought they were breaking me. Instead, they set me free. The total amount is $131,220.47, the accountant says, sliding the report across his desk. That's not including interest or the fraudulent credit accounts. I stare at the number. 5 years of my life reduced to a dollar amount. And you're sure about the trust fund? I ask. Created in your name, without your knowledge or consent. That's fraud. He taps the paper. Clear as day. I leave his office with a certified letter and head straight to attorney Dorian Ryan's building. The receptionist eyes me suspiciously. I'm here about the Mason family trust, I say sweetly. Raymond Mason's daughter. 10 minutes later, I'm sitting across from Dorian, watching him squirm. I can't discuss private client matters. Funny, I interrupt, because I'm supposedly the beneficiary of this trust, yet I've never seen any paperwork. His face twitches. Perhaps you should discuss this with your father. Perhaps you should discuss it with the Bar Association. I lean forward, because helping clients commit fraud seems problematic. The color drains from his face. Miss Mason, just tell me one thing. Was there really an inheritance from Uncle Robert? His silence is answer enough. I text Zariah. Family brunch tomorrow. Don't tell them you're coming. Sunday morning, I arrive at our parents' favorite restaurant. Mom and Dad are already seated, looking smug. Finally ready to apologize? Mom asks as I sit down. Actually, I place the accountant's report on the table. I'm here to present an invoice. Dad's face darkens. Now listen here. No, you listen. I open the folder. 5 years, 131,2047s, plus interest. We're your parents. Parents don't steal from their children. I pull out more papers. Parents don't create fake trusts. Parents don't hide inheritances. Mom's face goes white. Who told you? I did. Zariah appears beside the table, right on cue. And Aunt Gabriella told me. This is ridiculous, Dad sputters. We don't owe you any. Actually, I cut in, according to the law, you do. Fraud is fraud, Dad, even when it's family. Mom grabs her water glass. You ungrateful little... Don't, Zariah warns. Don't you dare make a scene. You're both conspiring against us. Mom's voice rises. After everything we've sacrificed. Sacrificed? I laugh. Like the spa weekends? The golf membership? The hidden inheritance? That money was ours. Dad slams his fist down. The trust fund wasn't. I turn to Zariah. Show them. She pulls out her phone, plays the recording of Dorian Ryan admitting everything. Mom's face contorts with rage. You recorded everything, I smile. Every admission, every lie, every fraud. Mom stands up so fast her chair falls backward. You think you can threaten us? No threats, I say calmly. Just consequences. She grabs the table edge. You little... The table flips. Water glasses shatter. Other diners gasp. Mom stands there, shaking with rage, as restaurant staff rush over. I think we're done here. I stand up, brushing water from my dress. You'll be receiving formal documentation from my attorney. If you do this, Dad calls after us, you're no longer our daughters. Zariah turns back. No, we stopped being your daughters the moment you chose greed over love. Outside, she breaks down crying. I hold her tight, feeling strangely calm. What now? She whispers. Now? I pull out an envelope. Now I mail them this. The envelope contains every transaction, every lie, every manipulation from the past 5 years. The cover letter reads, Final Accounting, 2018-2023 support contributions. They'll never pay it, Zariah says. They don't have to. I hug her again. This isn't about money anymore. My phone buzzes. Clark. How'd it go? Table flip dramatic, I reply. But we're okay. Another text comes through, from Freya. Your office is ready. VP title looks good on the door. I show Zariah the message. She smiles through her tears. They tried to keep us small, she says. They failed. We walk away from the restaurant, leaving behind the sounds of Mom's hysterics and Dad's threats. Behind us lies 5 years of manipulation and theft. Ahead lies freedom. Want to get real brunch? I ask Zariah. Somewhere without flying tables? She laughs. A real laugh. Maybe her first in weeks. Lead the way, sis. My phone buzzes one last time. Mom. You'll regret this. I delete the message without responding. Some bridges need to burn. He's back again, our security guard says, pointing to the parking lot. 3rd time this week. From my new corner office window, I can see Dad's car idling near the entrance. 2 weeks of silence broken by his daily stalking routine. Want me to call the police? The guard asks. Not yet. I close the blinds. Just document everything. My phone lights up. Mom's latest burner number. I block it without reading the message. 10 minutes later, my work email pings with a message from an unfamiliar address. You're killing your father. He can't sleep. Please call us. Delete, block, repeat. Freya knocks on my door. Your 10 a.m. is here. Also, your father is lurking in the parking lot? Yeah, I know. She frowns. This is harassment, Desiree. You need to take legal action. I'm gathering evidence. I gesture to my growing documentation file. Building a case. Build faster. She hands me a coffee. Before this escalates. That afternoon, Clark catches me in the break room. Dinner tonight? You need a distraction. I need a restraining order, I mutter, but agree to meet him. My phone buzzes. Zariah. Emergency. Can you come over? I find her sitting on her apartment floor, surrounded by papers. They refinanced my car, she says, voice shaking, without telling me. Use my information to take out a loan. When? Last month. She holds up bank statements. They needed money for their casino weekend, the one right after you cut them off. I sit beside her, examining the documents. We need to report this. Already did. She wipes her eyes. But that's not why I called. Look at this. She opens her laptop, shows me a series of emails. My stomach drops as I read them. They created a fake trust, she explains, in your name. Used it to hide money from Aunt Gabriella. But they got sloppy. Left the documentation in their shared cloud drive. My hands shake as I scroll through the evidence. Forward these to my lawyer. All of them. There's more. She pulls up another email. They're planning to claim elder abuse. Say you manipulated them into giving you money. They've been building this narrative for weeks. A cold laugh escapes me. Let them try. My phone rings. Aunt Gabriella. Are you sitting down? Because I just found something interesting in your father's financial records. That evening, I cancel dinner with Clark and meet Gabriella at her house. She has 3 decades worth of financial documents spread across her dining room table. Your father didn't just hide his inheritance, she explains. He hid mine too. Used your identity to create accounts, move money around. Classic fraud scheme. How much? She names a figure that makes my head spin. I'm pressing charges, she announces. Criminal charges. Will you testify? In a heartbeat. My phone buzzes. An email from Mom. If you don't call us by tomorrow, we're going to the police. We'll tell them everything. I forward the email to my lawyer, then type a response. Please do. Explain the fraud, the identity theft, the fake trusts. I have documentation for everything. No response. Driving home, I spot Dad's car following me. I call the police. Yes, he's still following. No, I don't feel safe. Yes, I'll hold. He finally turns away when I pull into the police station. The officer takes my statement, adds it to my growing file. We can arrest him for stalking, she offers. Not yet. I hand her my documentation. I want to build a complete case first. At home, I pour a glass of wine and open my laptop. Time to write the hardest email of my life. Dear Mom and Dad, I've documented everything. The fraud, the theft, the harassment, every lie, every manipulation, every illegal act. I have proof of all of it. Stop following me. Stop calling. Stop emailing. The next documented incident goes straight to the police. You taught me that family is everything. You were wrong. Peace is everything. And I choose peace. Do not contact me again. All debts, emotional and financial, are hereby settled. Goodbye, Desiree. I hit send, then block their final email addresses. My phone buzzes one last time. Clark, rain check on dinner? Yes, I reply. And Clark, thank you for everything. I sleep soundly that night, for the first time in weeks. Tomorrow, I'll deal with the fallout. Tomorrow, I'll face whatever new schemes they devise. But tonight, I'm free. And freedom, it turns out, feels a lot like peace. The IRS takes fraud very seriously, the agent says, flipping through my documentation. Especially when it involves identity theft and hidden trusts. I sit in the federal building, watching her highlight sections of my report. 3 hours of detailed explanation, bank statements, and evidence. Your parents were thorough, she notes. They were greedy, I correct her, and they got sloppy. My phone buzzes. Zariah. Mom's having a meltdown on Facebook. Check your email. The post is exactly what I expected. A long, tearful narrative about ungrateful children and aging parents. How they sacrificed everything. How I abandoned them in their time of need. Perfect, I mutter, forwarding it to my lawyer. What's perfect? Clark asks, appearing at my desk with coffee. They're doing my job for me. I show him the post. Every public statement, every accusation. It's all evidence. Speaking of evidence, he slides a USB drive across my desk. Security footage from the parking lot. Your dad's daily visits, time-stamped and documented. I add it to my growing file. You're too good to me. I'm just getting started, he grins. Dinner tonight? Before I can answer, Freya appears. Desiree, Aunt Gabriella is here. My aunt storms into my office, face flushed with anger. They did it again. Look at this. She hands me a stack of papers. More trust documents, more fraud, more lies. But these are different. These show exactly how they hid money from her, using my identity as cover. I'm suing them, she announces. Criminal and civil charges. The DA is very interested in this case. My phone rings. Zariah again. Dad just got served. Legal papers from Gabriella's lawyer. He's losing it. Stay away from the house, I warn her. This is just the beginning. That evening, I sit at my computer, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The post I'm about to write has been brewing for weeks. To those who've been asking about my family situation, I begin. I detail everything, not names, but facts. The financial abuse, the manipulation, the fraud. 5 years of sacrifice met with theft and lies. By the time I finish, my hands are shaking. Post it, Clark says softly. He's been reading over my shoulder. They don't get to control the narrative anymore. I click share and watch the responses flood in. Other victims of financial abuse, people who've been through similar situations. Support, validation, understanding. Then, Desiree, your mother's responding. Mom's reply is epic. Pages of accusations, twisted facts, emotional manipulation. Each word digs her grave deeper. Send screenshots to the lawyer, Zariah texts. This is better than we hoped. The next morning, Dad gets served again, this time with IRS investigation papers. Mom's hysterical voicemail goes straight to my evidence file. You think you can destroy us? She screams. We're your parents. We... Delete. Block. Document. Freya calls me into her office. The board approved your promotion. And... She slides over a paper. Your raise. Effective immediately. I stare at the number. More than enough to finally move to a better apartment. To start fresh. Thank you, I whisper. No, she says firmly. You earned this. All of it. My phone buzzes. The family lawyer. Your parents received the IRS notice. They're panicking. Want to negotiate. No deals, I text back. Let them face the consequences. Zariah meets me for lunch, bringing more evidence she's found. They're trying to hide assets, she explains, moving money around. But it's too late. Way too late, I agree, forwarding everything to the IRS agent. That afternoon, I receive an email from Aunt Gabriella's lawyer. The subject line, Case Update, Urgent. Inside is a detailed list of every fraudulent transaction, every hidden account, every lie. The evidence is overwhelming. We're filing criminal charges, the lawyer writes. The DA is confident. I forward the email to my parents' last known address with one line. You reap what you sow. Clark finds me in the break room, staring at my phone. You okay? Better than okay. I show him the DA's email. It's really happening. They're going to face consequences. Good. He takes my hand. Now, about that dinner. My phone buzzes one last time. Zariah. Mom and Dad just got the DA's letter. They're crying about family loyalty and forgiveness. I type back. Too little, too late. The war isn't over, but for the first time, victory feels certain. Not just legal victory, emotional victory. Freedom from their manipulation, their guilt, their control. I look at Clark, still holding my hand. Dinner sounds perfect. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. Guilty on all counts, the DA announces in her office. They're accepting a plea deal. I sit between Zariah and Aunt Gabriella, watching my parents' carefully constructed world crumble through a conference call. The terms? Gabriella asks. Full restitution, probation, and... The DA pauses. They have to admit everything, publicly. My hands shake as I sign the agreement. 5 years of lies ending in black and white truth. They're broke, Zariah whispers. The IRS froze everything. Good. I close the folder. They can finally live within their means. Outside the DA's office, my phone rings. Clark, your office is packed. Ready for the move tomorrow? Almost. I smile, thinking of my new apartment. No more budget constraints. No more guilt-driven sacrifices. Just one more stop to make. I drive to my parents' house one last time. The yard is overgrown. The luxury car's gone. A far cry from the facade they maintained with my money. Mom opens the door, looking older than I remember. Desiree, don't. I hold up my hand. I'm here to say this once. It's over. Dad appears behind her, deflated without his expensive clothes and arrogant smile. We can explain the fraud, the theft, the lies. I pull out an envelope. Save it for your probation officer. We're your parents, Mom tries. No, I hand her the envelope. You're criminals who happen to give birth to me. There's a difference. Inside the envelope is a letter detailing every penny they stole, every lie they told, every manipulation they attempted. At the bottom, in bold, do not contact me again. All debts, emotional and financial, are hereby settled. You can't just, Dad starts. I can and I have. I turn to leave, then pause. By the way, Aunt Gabriella revised her will. Guess who's not in it anymore? Their faces crumple as the final piece of their entitlement crashes down. Back at my apartment, Clark helps me pack the last box. You're really doing this. Moving on? I tape the box shut. Yes, finally. My phone buzzes. Freya. Board meeting tomorrow. Time to present your first project as VP. Another text follows. Zariah. Mom's crying about the will. Dad's talking about moving to Florida. Let them run, I reply. We're done chasing. Clark wraps his arms around me. Proud of you, you know that. I'm proud of me, too. I lean into him. For the first time, in forever. The next morning, I walk into my new office. Corner suite, executive desk, my name on the door. Freya meets me with coffee. Ready to crush this presentation? Born ready. My phone lights up. An email from my parents' lawyer. Final restitution schedule attached. They've agreed to all terms. I forward it to my accountant without reading it. The money doesn't matter anymore. The freedom does. Zariah visits that evening, bringing wine to my new apartment. Can you believe it's over? Not really. I pour us both glasses. Keep expecting another crisis, another guilt trip. Instead, we got justice. She raises her glass. To freedom. My phone buzzes. Aunt Gabriella. Just filed the final paperwork. The trust is yours now. All of it. I show Zariah the message. Karma's real. So is healing, she adds softly. Later that night, after everyone leaves, I stand on my new balcony. The city lights blur below, full of possibility. My phone shows one last message, from an unknown number. We're sorry. We know it's too late, but we're sorry. I delete it without responding. Some bridges should stay burned. Clark texts, dinner tomorrow? Yes, I reply. And the day after. And after that. My sister sends a final message. Mom's asking if we'll ever forgive them. I think about it, watching the stars above my expensive new view. The view I earned. The life I reclaimed. Some things don't deserve forgiveness, I write back. Some lessons need to be permanent. I close my eyes, feeling the night breeze. No more guilt. No more manipulation. No more sacrificing myself for people who only saw me as a resource. My phone buzzes one last time. Freya. You're going to nail tomorrow's presentation. You've earned this. Yes, I have. Every bit of it. I've earned my freedom, my success, my peace. And no one, not even the people who gave me life, gets to take that away again. Tomorrow is mine. Finally, Completely mine. Last box, Clark announces, setting it down in my new living room. Though I still think you should have hired movers. After everything? I shake my head. I needed to move every box myself. Make it real. My phone buzzes. Zariah sending a photo. Mom and Dad's house with a for sale sign out front. Their downsizing isn't optional anymore, not with the restitution payments and legal fees. They're moving to a rental, she texts. Dad's furious about having to work retail at his age. Karma, I type back, then set my phone aside to help Clark unpack. We're arranging books when Freya calls. Turn on the news. Channel 7. There it is. My parents on screen, making their court-mandated public statement. Mom looks small without her expensive clothes. Dad's shoulders slump as he reads their confession. We apologize for the financial fraud and emotional manipulation of our daughters. Clark mutes the TV. You don't need to watch this. Yes, I do. I unmute it. I need to hear them say it. We accept full responsibility for our actions. My phone lights up. Messages pouring in from family members who finally see the truth. Some apologize for not believing me. Others share similar stories of manipulation. The doorbell rings. Aunt Gabriella, with housewarming wine. Thought you might need this today. We sit on my new couch, watching my parents' public humiliation. Not with joy, but with quiet satisfaction. The trust paperwork is finalized, Gabriella says. Everything's in your name now, legally and properly this time. Another text from Zariah. Mom's asking if we'll visit them in their new place. Your choice, I reply. I'm done. Me too, she sends back. Finally free. Clark orders dinner while I unpack my home office. Between boxes, I find the original spreadsheet, my first documentation of their fraud. It feels like a lifetime ago. Ms. Mason, my building's concierge calls. There's a delivery for you. It's flowers, from my team at work. The card reads, Congratulations on the promotion and the new home. You earned this. Yes, I did. Every bit of it. The evening winds down. Gabriella leaves. Clark stays, helping me arrange furniture. We work in comfortable silence until my phone rings. Unknown number. Desiree? Mom's voice, smaller than I've ever heard it. Please. I hang up. Block the number. Turn back to building my new life. You okay? Clark asks. Better than okay. I hang a photo. Me and Zariah at my VP celebration dinner. I'm free. We order takeout. Sit on my new balcony. The city sparkles below, full of possibility. I have something for you, Clark says, pulling out a small box. Inside is a key. For emergencies, he explains. Or whenever you need a safe place. I think about safety. How I never felt it with my parents. How I'm finally finding it now. My phone buzzes. Freya. Board loved your proposal. Project starts Monday. Another text follows. Zariah. Found an apartment near you? Ready to be neighbors? Always, I reply. The night grows quiet. Clark leaves with a kiss and a promise for tomorrow. I stand in my new space, my fortress, my freedom. One last text comes through, from my old therapist. Saw the news. Proud of you for breaking free. I look around my apartment. No more budget constraints. No more guilt. No more sacrificing my peace for people who never deserved it. The final box sits unopened, labeled Family Photos. I pick it up, walk to the trash chute. Goodbye, I whisper, letting it fall. My phone lights up. Clark. Breakfast tomorrow? Yes, I type back. New day, new traditions. I step onto my balcony, feel the night air. Below, a moving truck takes away my parents' stolen luxuries. Above, stars shine on my hard-earned peace. Some people say revenge doesn't bring peace. They're wrong. Sometimes revenge is just another word for justice. Sometimes burning bridges lights the way forward. I've earned this view. this peace, this freedom. And I'm never giving it back. My phone buzzes one final time. Zariah. We did it, sis. We're finally free. Yes, we are. Free to live. Free to thrive. Free to be ourselves without guilt or manipulation. I look out over the city. My city now. Tomorrow brings work, success, love, peace. All the things they tried to take. All the things I took back. The night wraps around me like a promise. This is what victory feels like. This is what peace feels like. This is what freedom feels like. And it feels like home.
The word ungrateful hit me like a slap across the face. I stood in my parents' marble-floored kitchen, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles turned white as my mother's voice crackled through the speaker. After everything we've done for you, Ramona, this is how you repay us? I almost laughed. 15 years of bankrolling their lifestyle flashed through my mind. The vacations, the country club memberships, the endless loans to my brother Henry that we all knew would never be repaid. Mum, I can't keep throwing money at Henry's schemes. This crypto startup of his is just another black hole, and you know it. Your brother has vision, she snapped. Unlike you, hiding behind your safe little analyst job, he takes risks. He's going places. Yeah, places like the casino, and God knows where else. But I bit my tongue. I'd learned long ago that defending myself was pointless. The answer is no, I said firmly. I'm not investing another cent. The silence on the other end was arctic. Then, I always knew you were jealous of him. I ended the call and slumped against their designer kitchen island, the one I'd paid for during their last remodel. The late afternoon sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, highlighting dust motes in the air and the fresh flowers my mother insisted on having delivered weekly. On my dime, of course. My phone buzzed. A text from Henry. Come on, sis, don't be like that. Just hear me out over dinner? Delete. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, but my father's voice stopped me. Ramona, wait. He stood in the doorway to his study, looking uncomfortable in that way he always did when forced to take sides. Your mother means well. We just want what's best for the family. The family, I echoed. Dad, I've been living in a studio apartment for years while funding your lifestyle. When was the last time anyone asked what was best for me? He shifted his weight, avoiding my eyes. You've always been so capable, so independent. Independent because I had to be, capable because no one else in this family was willing to step up. A week later, I was sorting through my mail when I found it, buried between credit card offers and utility bills. A notice from their estate planning lawyer, accidentally sent to my address instead of theirs. My hands trembled as I read it, then read it again. They had transferred everything to Henry. The house I'd helped them keep, the investment accounts I'd advised them on, everything we'd built together over 15 years, now legally signed over to my younger brother. I called my best friend Kendra immediately. They wrote me out, I said, my voice hollow, like I never existed. Those manipulative bastards, she breathed. What are you going to do? I opened my laptop, logging into the emergency accounts I'd set up years ago. Joint accounts, requiring my signature for any major changes. Accounts my parents had forgotten about in their rush to erase me. They think they can just throw me away? My cursor hovered over the access settings. They forgot who's been holding the purse strings all along. I thought about the dreams I'd sacrificed, the promotions I'd turned down because they required travel, and who would handle my parents' finances while I was gone. The apartment I still rented, because every spare dollar went to maintaining their lifestyle. The relationships that fizzled because I was too busy playing ATM to my family. My mother's voice echoed in my head. Ungrateful. No, I'd been nothing but grateful, nothing but giving, nothing but the dutiful daughter for 15 years. And this was my reward, being discarded the moment I refused to play their game. My phone lit up with another text from Henry. Hey, need to discuss something urgent about the startup. Can you transfer $50,000 by tomorrow? I looked at the emergency account balance. Nearly $500,000. Money I'd squirreled away just in case over the years. Money they'd never bothered to track or question, too busy spending what I gave them freely. They wanted to play games with money? Fine, let's play. I clicked the button to freeze all transactions, then shut my laptop with a satisfying snap. For the first time in years, I felt something other than resignation or guilt. I felt powerful. Let them scramble. Let them panic. Let them finally understand what it means to lose everything you thought you could count on. My name is Ramona, and this is how I burned my family's golden world to the ground. It took exactly 6 hours for my phone to explode. First came Henry's texts, evolving from casual to desperate. "Hey, trying to access the emergency account. Is there a system problem? Ramona, this is serious. I need that money. Answer your phone." I blocked his number. Then came my mother's messages, following her predictable pattern. Anger, guilt, manipulation. "How dare you freeze those accounts? After everything we've done for you. Your father is devastated. Please, sweetheart, we need access. Don't be difficult." I blocked her too. Kendra arrived at my apartment that evening with wine and takeout. She found me curled up on my second-hand couch, staring at my phone's blocked calls list. "You look like you need this," she said, pouring a generous glass of red. "I just froze $500,000 of my family's safety net," I said, accepting the wine. "Should I feel this good about it?" "Honey, you're not their safety net. You're their ATM," Kendra settled beside me. "And they just tried to cut you out completely. What did they expect?" My phone buzzed again, my father this time, calling from a different number. I declined the call. I should call Travis, I mused, thinking of my ex. He's a financial lawyer. I need to know exactly where I stand legally. The hot lawyer ex who still likes all your Instagram posts? Yes, you absolutely should call him. Kendra grinned, then grew serious. "But Ramona, you always said you didn't want to be like them. Just make sure your revenge doesn't make you worse." I took a long sip of wine. They're about to learn what it feels like to live without a safety net. How is that worse than what they did to me? The next morning, I met Travis at his favourite coffee shop. He looked good, better than I remembered, in his tailored suit and with just a touch of grey at his temples. His eyes widened when I laid out the situation. "Let me get this straight," he said, leaning forward. "You've been supporting them entirely? Since I was 20. Every bonus, every raise, it all went to them." I stirred my coffee absently. I kept thinking if I just gave enough, they'd finally love you properly? Travis finished softly. I looked away. Sounds pathetic when you say it out loud. No, it sounds human. He pulled out his tablet. All business now? But here's what concerns me. I know the lawyer who handled their asset transfer, Serena James. She has a reputation. What kind of reputation? The kind that involves previous fraud investigations that mysteriously disappeared. He showed me some news articles, and the way this transfer was handled, there are deliberate exemption clauses buried in the paperwork, like they planned this for years. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. Years. They'd been planning to cut me out for years, all while taking my money. "What's my legal position with the frozen accounts?" I asked. "Strong. They're joint accounts requiring your signature. You had every right to freeze them." He hesitated. "But Ramona, if you really want to hit back, I could do some digging into Serena James and your brother's new venture." My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. My mother using someone else's phone. "Your father had to cancel his heart medication refill. Is that what you wanted? To hurt us?" I showed Travis the message. "They're trying to guilt me? Dad's medication is $15 a month with insurance. They spent more than that on their morning coffee today." "They're desperate," Travis said. "People show their true colours when they're desperate." I thought about all the times I'd been desperate, working overtime, skipping vacations, living on ramen to afford their lifestyle. Where was their concern then? "Do it," I told Travis. "Dig into Serena James. Dig into Henry's business. Dig into everything." He reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Just remember, revenge is like medicine. The dose makes the poison." I pulled my hand away gently. "Then let's make sure the dose is exactly right." Walking home, I passed the luxury car dealership, where I'd co-signed for my brother's last vehicle. Through the window, I could see him arguing with someone in a suit. probably about missed payments. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from my father. "Princess, please, we can talk about this. Whatever you want." I deleted it without responding. What I wanted was 15 years of my life back. What I wanted was parents who loved me for me, not my bank account. What I wanted didn't matter anymore. Now it was about what they deserved. And they deserved everything that was coming. 2 weeks into my financial siege, Henry's attempts to manage the family money were like watching a toddler try to juggle chainsaws. Every day brought a new disaster, and I had front row seats to the show. "Your brother bounced another check," Kendra reported over lunch. "She worked at the local bank and kept me informed. And your mum tried to use her credit card at Nordstrom. Denied? She made quite a scene." I stirred my salad, remembering all the times I'd had to eat cup noodles so they could maintain their lifestyle. Karma's not so fun on the receiving end, is it? My phone lit up with a notification from a real estate app. I nearly choked on my lettuce. "They listed the house," I whispered, showing Kendra the listing. "For a quick sale, way under market value." The colonial-style home filled my screen. Its pristine lawn, the wraparound porch where I'd spent countless summers reading, the bay window I'd helped restore last year. My throat tightened. "That's the house you saved from foreclosure, right?" Kendra asked gently. 10 years ago. I closed the app. Dad lost his job. They were 3 months behind on payments. I refinanced it in my name, used my first big bonus as a down payment. And now they're selling it without you. Trying to sell it, I corrected. No one's buying that house until the fraud investigation is complete. Speaking of which, Travis called that evening while I was making dinner. "You need to hear this," he said without preamble. "Remember how I was looking into Serena James and your brother's business? Find something? More like everything. Henry's blockchain startup doesn't exist. It's a shell company. And guess who helped him set it up? Serena James." I set down my knife. "Go on." "The company's just moving money around. Large amounts, weird patterns, classic money laundering signs. And get this, some of the transfers trace back to known gambling operations." The pieces clicked. Henry's late-night meetings, the constant need for cash, the desperate texts when I froze the accounts. "He's in trouble, isn't he?" I asked. "Real trouble. If by trouble you mean potential criminal charges?" "Yeah. And your parents' lawyer knew exactly what she was doing when she helped him set this up." I heard a knock at my door. Through the peephole, I saw Henry. Dishevelled, unshaven, nothing like his usual polished self. "I have to go," I told Travis. "My brother's here." "Want me to stay on the line?" "No, I can handle him." I opened the door but kept the chain on. "What do you want?" "Please, Ramona." His eyes were bloodshot. "I need help. There are people. I owe them money." "Gambling debts?" He flinched. "How did you—" "Doesn't matter. What matters is you're not my problem anymore. Mom and Dad made that very clear when they signed everything over to you. They didn't mean—" "Yes, they did." I met his eyes. "They meant every signature, every clause, every deliberate move to cut me out while taking my money. And now you're all learning what life is like without your personal banker." "These people are dangerous," he whispered. "If I don't pay, then I guess you better sell that fancy car. Or maybe that Rolex I bought you last Christmas." I started to close the door. "Oh, wait. You probably already pawned it." "You're my sister." "Funny. You all forgot that when you were planning to write me out of the family." I shut the door on his protests and leaned against it, breathing hard. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Your brother is crying in our driveway. Are you proud of yourself?" I typed back, "Are you proud of raising a son who gambles with dirty money?" No response. Later that night, I drove past my childhood home. The for sale sign looked wrong in the front yard, like a tombstone marking the death of my family's facade. A light was on in the kitchen, and through the window, I could see my parents at the table, heads bent together over papers. They looked older somehow, smaller. For a moment, my finger hovered over my mother's number. It would be so easy to give in, to be the responsible one again, to fix everything like I always did. Then I remembered the asset transfer papers, the deliberate clauses Travis had found. The years of planning behind my exclusion. They'd been preparing to discard me all along, even while taking my money. I drove away, leaving them to their dimly lit kitchen and their mounting bills. Let them learn what it feels like to be abandoned. My phone buzzed one last time. Travis again. Found more about Serena James. You're not going to believe this. I followed Henry's silver BMW through downtown, keeping 2 cars between us. He'd been making these mysterious trips 3 times a week, always claiming they were investor meetings for his blockchain startup, the startup that didn't exist. He pulled into the parking lot of the Golden Palace Casino. Some investor meeting. Got you, I muttered, snapping photos with my phone. Through the windshield, I watched him hurry inside, looking over his shoulder like a man who knew he was in trouble. My phone rang. Travis. That background check on Serena James came back, he said. She's been involved in 3 different money laundering cases, all dismissed under suspicious circumstances. Let me guess, she helped the guilty parties hide their assets. Exactly. And now she's helping your brother do the same thing. I was about to respond when someone knocked on my car window. I jumped. My mother stood there, designer handbag on her arm, face twisted with anger. Following your brother now? She demanded, as I reluctantly rolled down the window. What kind of sick game are you playing? The kind where I expose what's really going on, I said. Did you know your golden child is gambling away everything you gave him? He's networking, building business relationships. I gestured at the casino. In there? Wake up, Mum. He's not running a startup. He's running a money laundering scheme with your crooked lawyer. How dare you? She grabbed my car door handle, yanking it open. You've always been jealous of him, always trying to make him look bad. He doesn't need my help with that. I stepped out of the car, facing her. Tell me something. How long did you plan to cut me out? How many years did you spend taking my money while plotting behind my back? We did what was best for the family. I was family too. My voice cracked. Or was I just the bank account you kept around until you didn't need it anymore? You were never meant to be the star, Ramona. She smoothed her expensive blouse, one I'd bought her last birthday. You're the responsible one, the boring one. Henry has vision. Henry has gambling debts and a fraud investigation coming his way. Her face paled. What investigation? The one I'm helping build. I smiled coldly. Against him and Serena James. You wouldn't dare. Try me. A car door slammed nearby. My father emerged from their Mercedes, looking uncomfortable as usual. Tamara, please, he said to my mother. Not here. Did you know about the money laundering, Dad? I asked. Or did you just sign whatever papers Mum put in front of you, like always? He flinched. Your brother made some mistakes, but what? But he's your son. But he deserves another chance. I laughed bitterly. I gave you chances for 15 years. I gave you everything I had. We never asked for... Yes, you did. Every single time, every crisis, every bill, every temporary loan that was never repaid. You asked, and I gave, and gave, and gave. Ramona? I turned. Kendra stood there, having just pulled into the parking lot. She took in the scene. My mother's rage, my father's discomfort, my shaking hands. Everything okay here? She asked, moving to stand beside me. We're having a family discussion, my mother snapped. Family? Kendra's voice dripped acid. Funny, I thought you wrote Ramona out of the family. Or does she only count as family when you need her money? This doesn't concern you. Actually, it does. Because I've spent years watching you drain her dry, and I'm done being quiet about it. Kendra took my arm. Come on, Ramona. Let them deal with their golden child's mess themselves. As we walked away, my mother called out, You'll regret this, when everything comes out about Henry's business. You mean his money laundering? I turned back. Don't worry, Mum. Everything will come out. I'm making sure of it. Back in my car, Kendra squeezed my hand. You okay? I watched through the windshield as my parents huddled together, whispering frantically. Henry emerged from the casino, saw them, and tried to retreat, but too late. I'm filing the court petition tomorrow, I said, for fraud investigation on the asset transfer. Travis says we have enough to start. Good. Kendra nodded firmly. Let them sweat. My phone buzzed with a text from Travis. Just got word. Serena James has 3 other clients under investigation. This goes deeper than we thought. I started my car, watching my family argue in the casino parking lot. They looked small from here, their designer clothes and luxury cars just window dressing on a house of cards. And I was about to blow it all down. The repo man came for Henry's BMW on a Tuesday morning. I watched from my office window across the street as they hooked it up to the tow truck. Henry ran out in his silk pajamas, shouting and waving his arms like a windmill in a hurricane. My phone buzzed. Kendra sending me updates from the bank. 3 bounce checks this week. Their power's getting cut off tomorrow. I typed back, "They have a generator. I bought it last year." "Yeah, about that." "Henry tried to pawn it yesterday." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Of course he did. My office door opened and Travis walked in, carrying a thick manila folder. "The court accepted our petition. Fraud investigation is officially open." "How long until—" My phone rang. My father's number. I almost declined it, but something made me answer. "Ramona?" His voice cracked. "Please, I need you to talk sense into your brother. He just doesn't know what he's doing." The mighty Henry, the golden child with vision, reduced to needing his boring sister's help. How the tables had turned. "Remember when I needed someone to talk sense into all of you?" I kept my voice level. "When I said giving Henry unlimited access to money was a bad idea. When I warned you about his gambling." Silence. "Did anyone listen to me then, Dad?" We thought, you thought he could do no wrong. And now look where that got you." He started crying. Actually crying. In 15 years of playing their ATM, I'd never heard my father cry. I ended the call. "You okay?" Travis asked softly. "No." I stood up pacing. "Yes? I don't know. This should feel better, right? Watching them fall apart? Revenge is complicated." He opened the folder. "Speaking of which, look what we found about Serena James." Documents spilled across my desk. Bank statements, court records, evidence of previous fraud cases mysteriously dropped. And there, in the middle of it all, a connection I hadn't expected. "She's been working with the same gambling outfit Henry's mixed up with," Travis explained. "This isn't just about your family anymore. This is organized crime." My stomach lurched. Is Henry in danger? If he doesn't pay what he owes? Yeah, probably. I sank back into my chair. This was supposed to be simple revenge. Freeze some accounts, let them struggle a bit, teach them a lesson. But now... My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Your brother owes us money. Family should help family. You have 48 hours. I showed Travis the message. "We need to call the police," he said. "And tell them what? That my brother's involved in money laundering with the mob? Better than waiting for them to hurt him." I thought about Henry. Spoiled, entitled, reckless Henry, in over his head with dangerous people. Despite everything, my chest tightened with worry. Another text came through, this time from my mother. "The power's out. We can't afford food this week. Please, Ramona, you've made your point." "Don't answer it," Travis warned. "They're trying to manipulate you again." "I know." I stared at the message. But what if Henry really is in danger? Then he got himself there? "You're not responsible for saving him." My office door burst open. Kendra rushed in, face flushed. "You need to see this," she said, thrusting her phone at me. On the screen was a local news article. "Prominent lawyer under investigation for multiple fraud cases." Serena James's photo stared back at me. "It's starting," Travis said. "Once this hits the news, everything else will unravel." My phone rang again, Henry this time, using a new number. "Ramona, please," he begged when I answered. "These guys, they're serious. They came to the house last night. Mom's terrified." "Should have thought about that before you got involved with them." I didn't think. That's the problem, Henry. You never think. You just expect everyone else to clean up your messes. "They're going to hurt me." The words hung in the air. I looked at Travis, then Kendra, seeing my own conflict reflected in their faces. "Give me an hour," I said finally, and hung up. "Ramona," Kendra started. "I know," I grabbed my coat. "But if anything happened to him, even after everything they did..." You're not responsible for saving them, Travis repeated. No, I agreed. But I am responsible for what I do next, and I won't have their blood on my hands, even if they deserve it. I headed for the door, then paused. But that doesn't mean I'm going to make it easy for them. Cameron Hart's office reeked of old money and expensive cigars. He sat behind his mahogany desk, looking exactly like the family friend who'd watched me grow up. Silver-haired, Brooks Brothers suit, grandfatherly smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Your mother called me, he said, folding his hands. She's quite concerned about the family's situation. I'm sure she is. I placed a USB drive on his desk. But before you decide to play White Knight, you should see what's really going on. He plugged in the drive, and his face darkened as he scrolled through the documents. Bank statements, casino receipts, money transfers to shell companies, the evidence Travis and I had gathered. Henry's been laundering money, I explained. That startup he pitched you last month doesn't exist. It's all a front. Dear God. He removed his reading glasses. Does Tamara know? Mum sees what she wants to see, always has. And you're showing me this because they're about to ask you for money. Probably already have. And I don't want you getting dragged into their mess. He leaned back, studying me. You know, I always wondered why such a bright girl stayed in that toxic situation for so long. I thought if I just tried hard enough, gave enough. I swallowed hard. Pretty stupid, huh? No. His voice softened. Just human. My phone buzzed. Travis texting updates about the fraud case. Serena James had been suspended pending investigation. The walls were closing in. Thank you for the warning, Cameron said, standing. I'll decline any financial requests from your family. Walking out of his office, I felt lighter somehow. One less safety net for them to cling to. Back at my apartment, I found my mother waiting by the door. You went to Cameron, she accused. You poisoned him against us. The truth isn't poison, Mum. It's just the truth. We need his help. The electricity is still off. Henry's in trouble. Henry's in trouble because he gambled with dirty money. I unlocked my door, but she followed me inside. And you enabled him every step of the way. I protected him. That's what mothers do. What about protecting me? The words burst out before I could stop them. Who protected me when I was working 60-hour weeks to keep you all afloat? When I was living on ramen while you vacationed in Europe? You were strong. You didn't need... I needed my mother. My voice cracked. I needed you to love me as much as you loved him. To be proud of me, just once, without asking for money in the next breath. She sank onto my couch, the same second-hand couch I'd had for years, because every spare dollar went to them. Your father's been calling you, she said quietly. I know. He misses you. He misses my checkbook. She flinched. That's not fair. Neither was cutting me out after 15 years of support. Neither was planning it for years while taking my money. My phone rang. Travis again. I answered on speaker. Serena James is talking to investigators, he announced. She's naming names, including Henry's. This is about to blow wide open. My mother's face went ash white. How bad? I asked. Bad enough that anyone connected to these accounts needs a lawyer. Now. After he hung up, my mother stared at me with desperate eyes. Please, Ramona, help us fix this. Fix it? I laughed bitterly. Like I fixed everything else? No, you made your choice when you signed those transfer papers. Now you get to live with it. We'll lose everything. Welcome to my world. I opened my door. Now get out. After she left, I called Kendra. You okay? She asked. No. I poured a glass of wine. I keep waiting to feel better about all this. Shouldn't revenge feel better? Maybe because deep down, you're not doing this for revenge anymore. You're doing it because it's right. They need to face consequences. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. Please call me. Just you and me. No mother, no Henry. I need to tell you something. I stared at the message, remembering all the times he'd stood by silently while my mother and Henry took and took and took. Delete it, Kendra advised. But something in my gut said this was different. Maybe because, for the first time in 15 years, my father wanted to talk to me alone. I'll call you back, I told Kendra, and pressed dial on my father's number. Whatever he had to say, it wouldn't change anything. But maybe, just maybe, it would help me understand why. My father sat across from me at the corner diner, hands wrapped around a coffee cup he hadn't touched. Without his usual expensive clothes and my mother's influence, he looked smaller, older. "I knew," he said quietly, "about the asset transfer, about Henry's gambling, about all of it. And you did nothing." I was a coward. His voice cracked. "Every time your mother pushed for more money, every time Henry made another mistake, I stayed quiet. It was easier than fighting. Easier than protecting your daughter?" He flinched. "I told myself you were strong enough to handle it, that you didn't need protection." "I needed a father." The waitress refilled our cups. Neither of us drank. "The gambling debts," he continued. "They're worse than you know. These people Henry's involved with, they came to the house again last night. Did they hurt anyone? No, but they made it clear what happens if he doesn't pay." He pulled out an envelope. "That's why I'm here, to give you this." Inside was a formal confession detailing everything: the money laundering, Serena James's involvement, the asset transfer scheme, all signed and notarized. Why? Because it's time someone in this family did the right thing. He met my eyes. Use it. Help the investigation. Maybe it'll help reduce Henry's charges if I come forward first. My phone buzzed. Travis calling with updates. "Serena James took a plea deal," he said when I answered. "She's turning over everything. Bank records, client lists, all of it. The DA's office is moving fast." I looked at my father. "How much does Henry owe these people?" 300,000. The number hit like a punch to the gut. "Jesus, Dad. Your mother's trying to sell her jewellery. The cars are next, but it won't be enough. And you think that's my problem because—" "I don't." He pushed away his coffee. "I think it's our mess to clean up. I needed you to know the truth. And to say I'm sorry for everything." My phone buzzed again. Kendra this time. "Turn on the news now." I pulled up the local news app. There it was. Breaking news. Local lawyer's fraud scheme exposed. Multiple arrests expected. "It's starting," I told my father. He nodded slowly. "Good." "Good? They might arrest your son." "Better than what those loan sharks will do to him." He stood up, leaving money for the coffee. "Whatever happens next, Ramona, you did the right thing, even if it doesn't feel like it." After he left, I sat there watching the news unfold. More details emerged. Connections to organised crime, multiple victims, millions in laundered funds. Henry's name hadn't surfaced yet, but it would. Travis called again. "Police are heading to your parents' house with warrants. They're bringing Henry in for questioning." I drove there without thinking, arriving just as the police cars pulled up. My mother stood in the doorway, hand over her mouth. Henry sat on the porch steps, head in his hands. "Ms. Gill?" A detective approached me. "We understand you have information about this case." I handed over my father's confession. "Everything you need to know is in there." My mother's cry of betrayal cut through the air. "How could you? How could I?" I turned to face her. "How could you spend 15 years taking everything I had, then try to throw me away? How could you watch your son destroy himself and call it vision? How could you?" Henry looked up as the officers approached him. "Sis, please." "I'm not your ATM anymore," I said quietly. "I'm not your safety net. I'm just the daughter you never wanted, finally walking away." They led Henry to a police car. My mother collapsed against the doorframe, sobbing. And my father stood straight for the first time in years, nodding slightly to me. Travis appeared beside me. "You okay?" "No." I watched the police car drive away. "But I will be." My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Kendra. "Your old bedroom at my place is ready whenever you need it. Wine's already chilling." I took one last look at my childhood home, at the "for sale" sign now joined by police tape, at my mother's crumpled form, at my father's resigned stance. "Let's go," I told Travis. "There's nothing left for me here." As we drove away, I didn't feel the satisfaction I'd expected. No triumph, no joy in their downfall, just a quiet certainty that finally, after 15 years, I was free. The police would handle Henry. The courts would handle the rest. And I I would handle myself. For the first time in my adult life, that's all I had to worry about. The realtor handed me the keys to my new condo with a bright smile. "Congratulations! It's all yours." Standing in the empty living room, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, I felt something unfamiliar. Peace. No guilt about the down payment, no worry about keeping money aside for family emergencies. Just my space, bought with my money, for me. My phone buzzed. Travis with updates about the case. "Henry took a plea deal," he said when I answered. 2 years plus restitution. The organised crime connection helped. They're more interested in the bigger fish. "And Serena James?" Disbarred. Looking at 5 to 7 years. He paused. "Your father's testimony made a difference. The DA was impressed by his cooperation." I sat on the floor, leaning against freshly painted walls. "Have you heard from my mother?" "She's still trying to salvage what she can. Selling everything, claiming she knew nothing about the money laundering." Another pause. "She asked about you." "Of course she did. She probably needs money for lawyers." "Actually, she asked if you were happy." The question caught me off guard. In 15 years of bankrolling their lifestyle, my mother had never once asked about my happiness. A knock at the door interrupted my response. Kendra stood there with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "First night in your new place," she announced, walking in. "We're celebrating." I put Travis on speaker as she poured. "Your father left something at my office for you," he said. "Want me to bring it over?" "What is it?" "A letter. And the family photo albums." My throat tightened. Those albums held 20 years of memories. Birthdays, graduations, holidays. Before the money took over, before Henry's gambling, before everything fell apart. "Bring them," I said. While we waited, Kendra helped me unpack. Each box represented something I'd bought for myself instead of my family. New dishes instead of paying Henry's car payment. Artwork instead of my mother's country club dues. Travis arrived with a banker's box and a pizza. We sat on my new floor, eating and drinking as I opened the letter from my father. "Dear Ramona, these albums belong to you. They remind me of when we were a real family, before money poisoned everything. Your mother and I failed you. We took your love and twisted it into obligation. We took your generosity and treated it as a right. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to know that you were always enough. You were always extraordinary. We were too blind to see it." Henry starts his sentence next week. "Your mother is staying with her sister. The house sells at auction soon. Everything we built on your sacrifice is gone. And that's exactly as it should be. Be happy, princess. Be free. Love, Dad." I closed the letter, hands shaking slightly. "You okay?" Kendra asked. "Yeah." I reached for the albums. "I think I actually am." We spent the evening looking through photos, laughing at old hairstyles and forgotten moments. In every picture, I searched my younger face for signs of what was coming. The years of sacrifice, the betrayal, the revenge. "Look at this one," Travis said, pointing to a Christmas photo. "You all looked so happy." "We were," I admitted, "before money became more important than love." My phone lit up with a text from my mother. "The house auction is tomorrow. One last chance to save it." I showed it to Kendra and Travis. "She's still trying to manipulate you," Kendra said. "I know." I deleted the message without responding. "But it doesn't work anymore." Travis refilled our glasses. "To new beginnings?" "To freedom," I corrected, looking around my new space, at the boxes waiting to be unpacked, at friends who loved me without conditions, at a future unburdened by toxic obligation. I finally felt the weight lift completely. The revenge hadn't healed me. The satisfaction of watching their world crumble hadn't filled the void. What healed me was walking away, choosing myself, building something new from the ashes of what they destroyed. My phone buzzed one final time, a text from my father. "The auction's done. It's really over now. I hope you're finding peace." I looked at Kendra and Travis, at the empty champagne bottle and half-eaten pizza, at the photo albums full of memories that couldn't hurt me anymore. "I am," I typed back. Then I put down my phone and turned to my friends. "Who's ready to help me paint this place?" Maybe loving people who never loved me back wasn't my weakness after all. Maybe letting them go, choosing myself, building a new life without their poison. Maybe that was finally my strength. And strength, I was discovering, felt a lot like freedom. The message notification lit up my phone screen as I was finishing another client's tax returns at 11 p.m. Mum's group text. Sunday dinner. Big news from Camden. Vivian, bring those tuition payment forms we discussed. So proud of my baby boy. I'm Vivian, and I've been paying my brother's medical school tuition for the past 4 years. Every cent of it. My laptop screen blurred as I blinked away exhaustion. Another late night of freelance accounting work after my regular 9 to 5 at the investment firm. The stack of instant coffee cups beside me told the story of my typical Wednesday. You coming to bed soon? My roommate Ruby called from the hallway. It's getting late. Just one more return, I replied, though we both knew I'd say the same thing an hour later. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Camden. Sis, can't wait to tell you everything Sunday. BTW, my rent's due next week. Same account? I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. 4 years of these casual money requests. 4 years of just until I graduate, turning into just until residency, turning into what next? The memory of how this all started played in my mind like a worn-out movie. Mum and Dad sitting me down right after Camden got his acceptance letter, their faces painted with that particular blend of pride and worry. We just can't afford it, Mum had said, wringing her hands. But he's so brilliant, Vivian. He could be such an amazing doctor. Dad had cleared his throat awkwardly. You're so responsible with money, sweetheart. Always have been. And you're doing so well at your job. I'd agreed before they even asked. Because that's what good daughters do, right? My phone rang, startling me from the memory. It was Ruby. I can hear you thinking from my room, she said when I picked up. What's wrong? Family dinner Sunday. Mum wants me to bring tuition paperwork. Again? Viv, you've already paid for... I know. And your promotion? I know, Ruby. There was a pause. Want me to come with? I could fake an emergency halfway through. I laughed despite myself. Thanks, but I'll manage. It's just dinner. After hanging up, I opened my banking app. The numbers stared back at me. My savings account barely breaking 5 figures, my investment account depleted from the last tuition payment, my retirement fund. Better not to look. My phone pinged with another message from Mom. Don't forget the forms. Camden's so excited to discuss his future plans. Future plans. The words sat heavy in my stomach. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a folder labelled Camden Medical School. Inside were neat rows of numbers, each representing another piece of my life I'd sacrificed for my brother's dream. Tuition payments, book fees, rent checks, car insurance, all carefully documented in my accountant's handwriting. Ruby appeared in my doorway, arms crossed. You know what your problem is? My inability to say no. Your inability to see how much you're worth. She walked over and closed my laptop. Bed. Now. Whatever Sunday brings, you'll need sleep to face it. I nodded, but as I got ready for bed, Mum's text kept flashing through my mind. Bring those forms. Like I was just the family banker, the ATM with a pulse. The next morning at work, my supervisor Fiona stopped by my desk. Vivian, that analysis you did for the Morgan account? Brilliant work. Have you given any thought to that senior position we discussed? I felt a familiar pang of regret. I'm still considering it. It would mean relocating to the Boston office, she continued, but the salary increase would be substantial. My heart raced at the possibility. Then my phone buzzed. Another text from Camden about Sunday dinner. I'll let you know soon, I told Fiona, but we both knew what my answer would be. It had been the same answer for 4 years. Not now, not yet, maybe next time. As I watched Fiona walk away, something shifted inside me. Maybe it was the weight of all those late nights catching up to me. Maybe it was the realization that I'd turned down 3 promotions in 4 years. Or maybe it was just time. I picked up my phone and typed a response to Camden. Yes, I'll bring the forms on Sunday. But for the first time, I wasn't sure what I'd be signing. Ruby's words echoed in my head. Your inability to see how much you're worth. Sunday was coming, and something told me it wouldn't be just another family dinner. Mum's pot roast filled the house with a familiar aroma as I stepped through the front door, forms tucked under my arm. The good china was out, always a sign that Camden was the focus of tonight's celebration. "There's my responsible girl!" Mum rushed to hug me, then immediately reached for the folder. "Let's get the boring paperwork out of the way before dinner." I held onto it. "Maybe we should eat first." Camden bounded down the stairs, designer watch glinting on his wrist. A graduation gift to himself he'd put on my credit card last month. "Sis, wait till you hear my news." Dad emerged from his study, newspaper tucked under his arm. "There's my 2 successful children," he said. But his proud smile was aimed at Camden. We gathered around the dining table, Mum's best tablecloth spread beneath steaming dishes. I noticed the wine was my favourite red, a bad sign. Mum only served my preferred wine when she wanted something. "So," Camden started, barely waiting for everyone to sit, "I've decided on my specialty track." "Oh, honey, tell them!" Mum practically bounced in her seat. "Neurosurgery," he beamed. "It's incredibly competitive, but Dr. Phillips says I have real potential." "That's ambitious," I said carefully, calculating the extra years of training in my head. "It's perfect for him," Mum interjected. "My brilliant boy, saving lives." Camden nodded, helping himself to a large portion of roast. "The thing is, it's going to be intense. Like, really intense. I won't have time for any side jobs during residency." The room went quiet except for the clink of silverware. I felt it coming. "Actually," he continued, "I'll need to focus completely on my studies. No distractions. You understand, right, Viv?" I set down my fork. "Understand what?" "Well, you've been so amazing with handling all the, practical stuff. And since you're settled in your career..." "Settled?" The word tasted bitter. "You know what I mean. You're stable, established. And it's not like you have a family to support or anything." Mum jumped in. "What your brother means is that this is such an incredible opportunity, and you've always been so good with money, sweetheart." "Good with money," I repeated slowly. "You mean good at giving it away?" "Now, Vivian," Dad warned, his tone carrying that familiar "don't rock the boat" edge. Camden leaned forward, his face arranged in that earnest expression he'd perfected over years of getting his way. "I've been looking at apartments near the hospital. There's this perfect place. It's a bit pricey, but the location would really help with my schedule." "Have you looked at the numbers?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. "That's what the forms are for." Mum reached for my folder again. "We can work it all out tonight." I pulled the folder closer. "These aren't approval forms." "What do you mean?" Camden's smile faltered. I opened the folder and spread out 4 years of receipts, bank statements, and transfer records across Mum's precious tablecloth. "This is everything I've paid for. Every dollar, every cent." "Vivian, please," Dad started. But I cut him off. $432,000, I said. "That's not including the car, the rent, or the credit cards." The silence was deafening. "But that's what family does," Camden said weakly. "We support each other." "Support?" I laughed, and the sound surprised even me. "When's the last time any of you asked about my life? My dreams? Did you know I was offered a promotion last week?" "That's wonderful, dear," Mum said quickly. "But right now, we need to focus on Camden, like always." I stood up, gathering the papers. "I'm done." "Done?" Camden's voice cracked. "What do you mean, done?" "I mean done. Finished. No more payments, no more support, no more putting my life on hold." "You can't do this." Mum's voice rose. "He's your brother." "Yes, he is. And he's also an adult who can figure out his own finances." I walked to the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Camden, hope you enjoyed the Last Supper." "Vivian," Mum called after me. "Don't you dare walk out. What will people think?" I paused at the door. "They'll think exactly what I should have realised years ago, that I'm not an ATM, I'm a person." The drive home was a blur. My phone exploded with messages. Mom, Dad, Camden, all demanding I come back, all insisting I was being selfish. When I walked into my apartment, Ruby took one look at my face and grabbed 2 wine glasses. "That bad, huh?" "Actually," I said, a strange lightness in my chest. I think it was exactly what needed to happen. My phone buzzed again. Fiona this time. Still interested in that Boston position? For the first time in years, I smiled as I typed my response. Yes, absolutely yes. The next morning, I walked into the bursar's office at Camden's medical school, my hands steady as I signed the paperwork. You want to terminate all future payments? The clerk looked up from her computer. Are you sure about this, Miss Wade? Completely. I slid the form across the desk. And I'd like a note added to the account stating I'm no longer responsible for any charges. The student will need to make alternative arrangements immediately, she warned. That's not my concern anymore. My phone had 37 missed calls by the time I reached my office. I switched it to silent and focused on my work, but Ruby's message caught my eye. Lunch? You look like you need to talk. We met at our usual cafe, where Ruby ordered us both extra-large coffees. Spill, she demanded. I did it. I cut him off completely. Finally, Ruby practically shouted, drawing looks from nearby tables. Sorry, but seriously, it's about time. What triggered it? Remember my 29th birthday? The one where your mum turned your party into a fundraiser for Camden's medical books? I nodded. Or last Christmas, when I couldn't go on that ski trip with you because Camden needed new winter tires? Or the time... Okay, I get it, Ruby interrupted. But why now? Because I'm tired of being the family ATM. Did you know Camden spent $300 on a watch last month? On my credit card. Meanwhile, I'm eating ramen to make rent. Ruby's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Viv, you might want to check social media. I pulled up Instagram to find Camden's latest post. Sometimes the people who should support you the most are the ones who hurt you deepest. Toxic family. Data boundaries. Chaka healing. He's playing victim, I laughed incredulously. Classic. Your mum's commenting on it too, Ruby pointed out. Praying for you, my sweet boy. Some people just don't understand family loyalty. My coffee suddenly tasted bitter. $20 says she wrote that from her house that I helped refinance last year. Back at work, Fiona called me into her office. About Boston, she started. I want it, I said firmly, if the offer still stands. It does, but it means moving in 3 weeks. Are you sure your family obligations won't be an issue? No obligations anymore. I straightened in my chair. I'm free to focus on my career. My phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a professional voice spoke. This is Dean Mackenzie from the medical school. Do you have a moment to discuss Camden Wade's account? I've already spoken with the bursar's office, I replied. Yes, about that. She paused. Your brother's enrollment status is now in jeopardy. He's claiming there must be some mistake. There's no mistake. I'm no longer funding his education. I see. Another pause. You should know he's been quite vocal about the situation around campus. Let me guess. He's telling everyone his cruel sister abandoned him? Something like that. The dean's tone softened. Though his version doesn't quite match our financial records. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and created a new folder. Evidence. Into it went screenshots of every transaction, every manipulative text, every guilt-tripping email from the past 4 years. Ruby appeared at my desk. Your mum's calling me now. What did she say? That I should talk some sense into you, that Camden's future is at stake. Ruby rolled her eyes. I told her I fully support your decision and hung up. My email pinged, a message from Dad. Princess, please reconsider. Your mother's beside herself. Camden's devastated. This isn't like you. That's the problem, I muttered. Everyone thinks they know exactly what I'm like. Ruby perched on my desk. Remember when you wanted to start your own consulting firm? 3 years ago, I nodded, right before Camden's first tuition payment was due. You could do it now, she pointed out. With the Boston salary. My phone buzzed again. A text from Camden. The dean called me in. They're threatening to suspend my enrollment. Is this what you wanted? To ruin my life? I showed Ruby the message. Watch how fast this becomes my fault. Let them spin it however they want, she said. You know the truth. I looked at the Boston offer letter on my screen, then at the growing folder of evidence on my desktop. For years, I'd been the family's backbone, their safety net, their silent supporter. But as I typed my acceptance email to Fiona, I realized something. Silence had been my chains, and I wasn't just breaking free, I was about to get loud. My phone lit up with another call from the dean's office. This time I smiled as I reached for it. The reckoning was just beginning. "Ms. Wade, I'll be direct." Dean Mackenzie's voice was crisp through the phone. "Your brother's tuition payment is now 2 weeks overdue. Without immediate resolution, he'll be placed on financial suspension." "I understand," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "But as I explained to the bursar's office, I'm no longer responsible for Camden's expenses. He seems to think otherwise. He's been quite insistent that this is a temporary misunderstanding." I could imagine Camden's practiced charm, his rehearsed smile. "It's not a misunderstanding, Dean Mackenzie. He's a grown man who needs to handle his own finances." After hanging up, I turned to find Fiona in my office doorway. "Ready to discuss the Boston transfer?" "Actually," she said, closing the door behind her, "I wanted to talk about the salary package. The board approved a higher offer than initially discussed." She slid a paper across my desk. The number made my eyes widen. "This is," I started. "What you're worth," Fiona finished. "What you should have been earning years ago if you hadn't kept turning down promotions." My phone buzzed. Camden calling for the 12th time today. I declined it. "When can you start?" Fiona asked. Before I could answer, my phone lit up again. Mom this time, then immediately after, Dad, then Camden again. "Family emergency?" Fiona raised an eyebrow. "No," I said firmly, silencing my phone. "Just people learning that actions have consequences." Back at my desk, I opened my email to find a message from Camden. "Sis, this isn't funny anymore. The dean says they're going to suspend me. Mum and Dad can't help. You know that. I have exams next week. Please don't ruin everything I've worked for." Everything he worked for. The word stung. Ruby appeared with coffee. "Your brother's gone nuclear on social media. Check his latest post." I pulled up Instagram to find a long, emotional post about family betrayal and navigating toxic relationships while pursuing your dreams. The comment section was filled with sympathetic responses. "He's always been good at playing victim," I muttered. "Speaking of playing," Ruby said, "did you see what your mum posted?" My mother's Facebook status read, "Heartbroken watching my son struggle because of others' selfishness. Please keep Camden in your prayers." My phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "Your mother's taking anxiety medication because of this. Is that what you wanted?" I showed Ruby the message. Funny how they never needed medication when I was working myself sick to pay their golden child's tuition. "You know what this needs?" Ruby pulled out her laptop. "Documentation." We spent the next hour organising my evidence folder, screenshots of Camden's luxury purchases using my credit card, records of my depleted savings, emails where my parents dismissed my career opportunities in favour of Camden's needs. "This is intense," Ruby said, scrolling through years of financial abuse. "Have you shown this to anyone?" "Not yet." I hesitated. "But maybe." My office phone rang. The dean again. "Ms. Wade, I apologise for calling again, but there's been a development. Your brother has submitted some concerning documentation regarding his financial independence status." My heart skipped. What kind of documentation? Forms suggesting he has independent means to fund his education. Given your recent statements, I'm concerned about their authenticity. I sat up straighter. "Dean Mackenzie, I'd be happy to provide you with detailed records of exactly who has been funding Camden's education for the past 4 years. After hanging up, I turned to Ruby. "He's trying to forge financial documents." "That's fraud," she said, eyes wide. "Yes," I replied, opening my evidence folder. "Yes, it is." My phone lit up with another call, this time from an international number. Ruby grabbed it before I could. "Hold up," she said, Googling the area code. "This is from London. Isn't that where Camden was hoping to do his residency?" A new email popped up from the dean. "Ms. Wade, given recent developments, would you be willing to provide a formal statement regarding your brother's financial history with the school?" I looked at the international number still flashing on my phone, then at the years of evidence on my screen, then at the Boston offer letter sitting on my desk. "You know," I said to Ruby, "I think it's time everyone learned exactly who's been behind Camden's success story." "You're going to do it?" Ruby asked. "Go nuclear?" "No," I replied, starting to type my response to the dean. "I'm just going to tell the truth. Every single detail of it." My phone buzzed one final time. A text from Camden. "Please, Viv, I need you." For the first time in years, those words didn't move me. Instead, I opened my email and began. "Dear Dean Mackenzie, I appreciate your concern regarding this situation. Please allow me to provide a complete financial history." The truth, as they say, was about to set me free. The pounding on my apartment door started at 7 a.m. on Saturday. I knew it was coming. Mum's texts had grown increasingly frantic after the dean's office contacted Camden about discrepancies in his financial documentation. "Vivienne," Mum's voice carried through the door. "Open this door right now." Ruby emerged from her room, still in pajamas. "Want me to call security?" Before I could answer, I heard Dad's voice. "Princess, please, we need to talk about this as a family." I opened the door to find my entire family in the hallway. Mum's mascara was smeared. Dad looked exhausted, and Camden, my perfect little brother, was pale with rage. "What did you tell the dean?" he demanded, pushing past me into the apartment. "The truth." I closed the door behind them. "Every single detail of it." "You had no right." Mum's voice shook. "Do you know what you've done?" "Actually," Ruby interrupted, laptop in hand, "she had every right. Want to see the spreadsheet of exactly what Vivian's done for this family?" "Stay out of this," Mum snapped. "No, let's show them." I nodded to Ruby, who turned the screen around. 432,000 in tuition, she began reading. 68,000 in rent. 42,000 in car payments and insurance. 12,000 in credit card debt. "Stop," Camden shouted. "Those were gifts. You offered to help." "Gifts," I laughed. "Let's talk about gifts, Camden. Like the Rolex you bought yourself using my credit card? Or the luxury apartment you insisted you needed for studying?" "You're just jealous," Mum cut in. "Jealous that your brother is doing something meaningful with his life while you just push papers around." The words hit like a slap, but I stayed calm. "You mean my job? The one that paid for everything on this spreadsheet?" "The dean is threatening to suspend me." Camden's voice cracked. "The residency program in London already pulled my application. They're saying something about fraudulent financial documents." "Funny how that works," I said. "Actions having consequences." "You vindictive bitch," he spat. Dad finally spoke up. "Language, Camden. Vivian, surely we can fix this. What do you want?" "What do I want?" I walked to my desk and pulled out a folder. "I want you all to see these." I spread out papers across my coffee table. Rejected promotion letters, cancelled vacation plans, credit card statements showing Camden's extravagant spending. "This one's my favourite." I pointed to a credit card bill. The day after I cancelled my therapy sessions because I couldn't afford them, Camden spent $600 at a designer store. "You're destroying his future," Mum wailed. "No," Ruby interjected. "She's making him face reality." "Reality?" Camden laughed bitterly. "The reality is she's trying to ruin my life because she's bitter about her own choices." "My choices?" I felt something snap inside. "Like the choice to skip my best friend's wedding because you needed emergency textbook money, or the choice to live with a roommate at 33 because all my savings went to your tuition." "We're your family," Mum pleaded. "Family doesn't treat each other like ATMs," Ruby said. "Nobody asked you." Mum turned on her. "Actually," I said quietly, "I'm asking her. To witness this moment when I tell you all, I'm moving to Boston. I've accepted a promotion, a real one, with a 6-figure salary and benefits." The silence was deafening. "You can't," Camden whispered. "Watch me." I handed him a stack of papers. "Here's every transaction I've ever made for you. Every dollar you owe me. Every opportunity I gave up. We'll never be able to pay this back," Dad said, looking at the numbers. "I know." I met his eyes. "That's not why I'm showing you. I'm showing you so you understand exactly what you're losing." "Your soul?" Mum's voice dripped venom. "Your family?" "No," I replied. Your safety net. Camden's phone buzzed. The dean's office. His face went white as he read the message. They're suspending my enrollment pending a financial investigation. Actions, I repeated softly, have consequences. Please. He looked up, tears in his eyes. I'll do anything. Just tell them it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, Camden. It was exploitation. And it's over. Mum grabbed her purse, hands shaking. Come on, Camden. We'll figure this out ourselves. Good luck with that, Ruby muttered. As they filed out, Dad lingered at the door. Vivienne, don't, I cut him off. Just don't. After they left, Ruby hugged me tight. You okay? My phone pinged. An email from the dean requesting a formal meeting about Camden's financial disclosures. You know what? I said, starting to type my response. For the first time in years, I really am. The truth hadn't just set me free. It had given me my life back. Your brother's gone full martyr mode, Ruby said, sliding her phone across my desk. Check his latest Instagram post. I glanced at the screen. A black and white photo of Camden in his white coat, stethoscope artfully arranged around his neck. The caption read, When those closest to you try to destroy your dreams, remember, success is the best revenge. Nun's med school struggle. Challenge resilient, jar rising above. The comments are even better, Ruby pointed out. Dozens of sympathetic responses flooded the post. Former classmates, family friends, even some of my relatives, all offering support and condemning the unnamed toxic family member trying to ruin his future. My phone rang. Dean Mackenzie again. Ms. Wade, I've reviewed the documentation you provided, she began. I must say, it's comprehensive. I'm an accountant, I replied. We keep receipts. Indeed. We've launched a formal investigation into your brother's financial disclosures. It appears he may have submitted falsified documents for his residency applications as well. I sat up straighter. What kind of documents? Claims of independent wealth, family trust funds, none of which seem to exist. She paused. We've had to notify several residency programs about potential fraud. After hanging up, I opened my laptop to find an email from an unfamiliar address. London Metropolitan Hospital's Residency Coordinator. Dear Ms. Wade, we're reaching out regarding Camden Wade's financial documentation. Ruby read over my shoulder. He tried to fake financial documents for international programs. That's not just unethical, that's illegal. Speaking of illegal, I said, opening my banking app, look what I just found. There it was. A pending transfer from my account to the medical school's bursar office, one I hadn't authorised. He still has your banking password, Ruby gasped. Not anymore. I quickly called the bank, reporting the unauthorised access and changing all my credentials. My phone buzzed with a text from Mum. Hope you're happy. Camden's meeting with the academic board tomorrow. His whole future is at stake. Before I could respond, another message popped up, this time from an old family friend. Just saw Camden's posts. How could you do this to your own brother? He worked so hard. Worked hard spending your money, maybe, Ruby muttered. I opened my email and began composing a message to Dean Mackenzie, attaching additional bank statements showing Camden's spending habits. What are you doing? Ruby asked. Making sure they have the full picture. I continued typing. If Camden wants to play victim on social media, fine, but the school should know exactly who they're dealing with. My phone lit up, Fiona calling about Boston. Your apartment's ready whenever you are, she said. The team's excited to have you start next month. Perfect timing, I replied, watching another notification pop up from the dean's office. After hanging up, I checked my email. The subject line made my heart stop. Urgent. Academic integrity investigation? Camden Wade? The dean's message was clear. Camden was being called before the academic board to address serious concerns about ethical conduct and financial misrepresentation. Ruby whistled low. That's going to leave a mark. He did this to himself, I said, but my hands shook slightly as I typed my response confirming I would attend as a witness, if needed. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. The neighbours are asking questions. Your mother can't show her face at church. Please, Princess, make this right. I showed Ruby the message. Funny how they're more worried about their reputation than their son's fraud. Speaking of reputation, Ruby pulled up a local news website. There, in the education section, was a small headline. Medical school launches investigation into student financial fraud. No names were mentioned, but the timing was clear. It's going to get worse before it gets better, I said, starting to pack up my desk. You're not having second thoughts, are you? I paused, looking at the photo frame on my desk, me at my college graduation, beaming before all this started. No, I said firmly. I'm having first thoughts. For the first time in years, I'm thinking about myself first. My email pinged one final time for the day. Camden's girlfriend. How could you betray him like this? He's your brother. He was going to propose to me after graduation. I closed my laptop, thinking about the designer watch he'd bought himself with my money, the one he'd probably planned to give her. Ready to go home? Ruby asked. Actually, I said, pulling up apartment listings in Boston. I'm ready to start looking for my new home. The next morning's headline would read, Local medical student suspended amid financial investigation. But for the first time, I didn't feel responsible for fixing someone else's mess. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their own actions. The medical school's conference room felt colder than it should have in late spring. I sat across from the academic board, my evidence folder open in front of me, while Camden slumped in his chair at the other end of the table. Let's begin, Dean Mackenzie said, shuffling her papers. Mr. Wade, we're here to address serious concerns about financial misrepresentation and potential fraud. Mom and Dad sat behind Camden, Mum clutching her designer handbag, another gift funded by my credit card. The irony wasn't lost on me. This is all a misunderstanding, Cameron started, flashing his practiced smile. My sister and I had an arrangement. An arrangement you falsified in official documents, the Dean interrupted. Ms. Wade, could you please explain the actual nature of your financial support? I opened my folder. For the past 4 years, I've paid all tuition and living expenses. Camden had no independent means of support, despite what his residency applications claimed. That's not true, Mom burst out. We helped. Mrs. Wade, Dean Mackenzie warned, please refrain from interrupting. I pulled out the bank statements. Every payment came from my accounts. I have records of every transaction, including personal expenses Camden charged without authorization. The board members passed the documents around, their expressions growing grimmer with each page. Mr. Wade, one of them spoke up, you claim to have access to a family trust fund in your London residency application. Camden's face went pale. I was going to set one up. With what money? I asked quietly. The money you took from my accounts? The room fell silent except for Mum's muffled sobs. The board has reviewed all evidence, Dean Mackenzie announced. Given the severity of these ethical violations, we have no choice but to suspend your enrollment for 1 academic year, pending further investigation. 1 year? Camden jumped up. You can't do this. I'm months from graduating. Actions have consequences, I echoed my earlier words. As we left the conference room, a young reporter from the student newspaper approached. Excuse me, could I get a comment about the academic board's decision? Before Camden could speak, I stepped forward. I think this case demonstrates the importance of integrity in medical education. Future doctors should be held to the highest ethical standards. The story broke that evening. Medical students suspended. Financial fraud raises ethics concerns. It was picked up by local news stations within hours. Back at my apartment, Ruby was packing boxes for my Boston move when my phone exploded with notifications. Your brother's girlfriend dumped him, she reported, scrolling through social media, publicly, on Instagram. How the mighty fall, I murmured, taping up another box. My phone rang. Dad again. Princess, the church committee is asking your mother to step down. Our reputation in the community is exactly as real as Camden's trust fund, I finished. After hanging up, I checked my email to find a message from Fiona. Your corner office in Boston is ready. Team can't wait to meet their new director. Ruby held up a bottle of champagne. Time to celebrate? Before I could answer, there was a knock at the door. Camden stood there, looking nothing like the polished medical student from his Instagram posts. Can we talk? He asked, his voice rough. "I think we're done talking." "Please, Viv, I messed up. I know that now." "Now," I laughed. "Not when you were forging documents. Not when you were stealing from my accounts. Not when you were playing victim on social media." "I can change," he pleaded. "Yes, you can, but not with my money." I started to close the door. "Wait." He thrust an envelope at me. I wrote everything down, how sorry I am, what you mean to me. Please, just read it. I took the envelope but didn't open it. "Goodbye, Camden." After he left, Ruby picked up another box. "You okay?" "Better than okay." I looked around my half-packed apartment. I'm free. My phone pinged with a final email from Dean Mackenzie. "Ms. Wade, thank you for your courage in coming forward. Your testimony will help establish stronger ethical guidelines for our program." I placed Camden's unopened letter in a box, labelled Passed, and sealed it shut. The next morning's headline read, "Local Family's Social Standing Shaken by Medical School Scandal." Mum's church friends were already gossiping. Dad's golf buddies were suddenly too busy to play. But as I loaded the last box into my car, ready for my drive to Boston, I felt only lightness. The weight of family obligation had been replaced by something better. Self-respect. Ruby hugged me goodbye. "Show them what you can do when you're not carrying everyone else." I smiled, starting the engine. "I plan to." The rearview mirror showed my old life growing smaller. Ahead lay Boston, a corner office, and a future that was finally, completely my own. The Boston skyline glittered through my office window as I reviewed the latest quarterly reports. A knock on my door interrupted my concentration. "Ms. Wade?" My assistant poked her head in. "There's someone here to see you. Says she's from your old hometown." I looked up to find a young woman, barely 20, clutching a folder similar to the one I'd carried into the bursar's office that day. "I'm Sarah," she said nervously. "I read about your story in the Medical Ethics Journal, about standing up to your brother and the financial fraud." I gestured for her to sit. "What can I help you with?" "My sister's doing the same thing to me," she burst out. "Making me pay for her law school, her apartment, everything. Our parents say it's my duty because I have a good job, but I'm drowning in debt." I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a familiar folder. My evidence file, now used as a template for others in similar situations. "First," I said, "we document everything." As I helped Sarah organise her financial records, my phone lit up with a text from Ruby. "Your brother's latest update. Thought you should see it." Camden's post showed him in scrubs at a small rural clinic. Starting over isn't easy, but sometimes hitting rock bottom teaches you who you really are. Grateful for this second chance as a medical assistant. Humility, Tashi growth. "Looks like someone finally learned about honest work," I murmured. "Director Wade?" My assistant appeared again. "Your investment team is ready for the presentation." I walked into the conference room where my team waited to present their analysis. As I listened to their confident voices, I remembered my own voice shaking in that medical school conference room. My phone buzzed, Mum's first message in months. "The church committee asked about you. I didn't know what to say. I replied simply, 'Try telling them the truth.' After the meeting, I had lunch with my new mentor, a senior VP who'd taken me under her wing. 'The board's impressed with your division's performance,' she said. 'They're talking about expanding your team.' 'I'm thinking of starting a foundation,' I told her, 'for siblings trapped in financial abuse situations, like Sarah this morning.' 'Using your story to help others?' She smiled. 'That's turning pain into purpose.' Back in my office, I found an email from Dean Mackenzie. 'Thought you'd want to know. We've implemented new financial verification procedures. We're calling it the Wade Protocol. Your stand, change things.' My assistant brought in the afternoon mail, including a thick envelope from my father. Inside was a check, partial repayment for Camden's expenses, along with a letter. 'Princess, I failed you. Chose peace over justice. Let your mother's enabling blind me. The money's not much, but it's a start. I'm in counselling now, learning to be better, proud of who you've become. Love, Dad.' The check wasn't large, but the acknowledgement was priceless. My phone rang, Ruby FaceTiming from my old apartment. 'Guess who I ran into?' she said. 'Your brother's ex-girlfriend. She's warning other women about entitled med students now. Called it her public service. I laughed, then noticed another email notification, a message from Camden's clinic supervisor requesting a reference. "He's applying for a physician assistant program," the email read. "Says he needs to earn his way this time. Would you be willing to share your perspective on his character development?" I thought about it, then began typing. While I cannot speak to his past behaviour, I believe in the power of consequences to shape character. My assistant knocked again. "Sarah's back. Says she's ready to stand up to her family." I looked at the young woman in my doorway, saw myself from a year ago, scared but determined. "Come in," I said, clearing space on my desk. "Let's talk strategy." As we worked, I glanced at the plaque on my wall, Director of Investment Strategy, and smiled at how far I'd come since those late nights doing extra accounting work to pay Camden's bills. My phone lit up with a final message for the day. From Ruby. "Miss you, but proud of you. You're changing lives up there." I looked at Sarah, already stronger just from having someone validate her struggles, at my team's reports showing record growth, at Dad's letter of accountability, at Camden's slow journey toward redemption. "Ready to take your life back?" I asked Sarah. She straightened her shoulders, nodding. "Then let's begin," I said, opening my laptop. "Because the best revenge isn't just living well, it's helping others break free too." My revenge wasn't cruel, it was overdue. And its ripples were still changing lives, one story at a time.
The day I handed my parents the final mortgage payment, I thought I was giving them freedom. Instead, I handed them a weapon they'd use against me for the next 5 years of my life. I'm Sarah, 32, and until recently, I was that daughter. You know the type. The one who'd sacrifice everything to make her parents proud. The one who'd work 60-hour weeks as a paralegal to help them keep their house. The one who thought family meant something sacred. "Honey, we have wonderful news." Mom's voice crackled through my phone speaker that Friday evening. "Your father and I have been thinking." I should have recognised the sugary tone. It was the same one she used when I was 16 and she'd borrowed my first paycheck to pay for my brother's baseball camp. "We've found the perfect tenant for the house," she continued. "Such a lovely young woman, June. She's paying well above market rate." My fingers froze over the case file I'd been reviewing. "Wait, you're renting out the house? The one I just spent 3 years paying off?" "Oh, darling, it's such a smart investment move," Dad chimed in from their extension. "And since you have that spare room in your place..." The weight of their words hit me like a brick. "You want to move in with me?" "Just temporarily." Mom's voice rose an octave. 3 months tops. We thought it would be lovely to spend more time with you. I glanced around my carefully curated apartment, my sanctuary after long days at the firm. The spare room was my home office where I handled overflow casework, where I built my career piece by piece. "When?" I managed to ask. "Well, June moves in next Tuesday, so..." "Next Tuesday?" My voice cracked. "That's 4 days from now. We knew you'd understand, sweetheart. You've always been our rock." Dad's tone carried that familiar note of authority that brooked no argument. "Besides, after everything we've done for you..." The guilt trip, right on schedule. I ended the call feeling numb, memories flooding back. Mom pawning my college fund savings bonds for a family emergency that turned out to be a cruise. Dad insisting I skip my dream internship to help renovate their basement. Always taking, always expecting, always wrapping their demands in the cloak of parental love. That night, I couldn't sleep. I dug through my filing cabinet until I found it, the folder labelled Parents' Mortgage. 3 years of overtime slips, declined vacation requests, the promotion I'd turned down because it would have meant less flexible hours for making their payments. My phone buzzed, a text from Brooke, my closest friend at the firm. "Drinks, you sound stressed." At the bar, I showed her the mortgage statements. I thought I was helping them retire peacefully. Instead, they're turning their house into an income property and invading mine. Brooke's eyes narrowed. "Have you checked their bank statements recently? The ones you helped them set up online banking for?" I hadn't. When I got home, I logged into their account. They'd never bothered changing the password I'd set up. What I found made my blood run cold. Regular deposits from June Rodriguez, dating back 3 months. They'd been planning this. They'd signed the lease long before their spontaneous announcement. My phone buzzed again. Mum, honey, we're thinking of bringing our bedroom set. Your guest room furniture is a bit basic. You don't mind, do you? I stared at the message, then at the bank statement, then at the framed photo on my wall, the 3 of us smiling after I'd handed them the final mortgage cheque. Mum's arms around me, Dad's proud beam. All lies. Another text from Mum. Also, Edmund Jr. might need to store some things in your garage, just temporarily. You know how your brother is with transitions. I felt something shift inside me. A lifetime of compliance cracked like thin ice. I opened my laptop and started typing. Dear June Rodriguez, I hope this email finds you well. I'm Sarah, the daughter of your new landlords. The reply came within minutes. Sarah, your parents told me so much about you. They mentioned you're letting them stay with you while they maximize the property's potential. They're so proud of having such a generous daughter. I closed my laptop and walked to my window, watching the city lights blur through unshed tears. 3 years of my life to pay off their house, and they'd turned it into a chess piece in their game of emotional manipulation. But here's the thing about being a paralegal. You learn that every contract has loopholes. Every agreement has weak points. And sometimes the most devastating revenge isn't served hot or cold. It's served with a notarized letter. Living with my parents was like watching a slow-motion home invasion, except the invaders came armed with guilt trips instead of guns. Sarah, honey, these organic vegetables are so expensive, Mom said, rifling through my grocery bags. I could get twice as much at the discount store. I bit my tongue and continued chopping onions for dinner. 1 week in, and they'd already rearranged my kitchen cabinets, replaced my shower curtain, and suggested I move my desk to the living room so they could have a proper bedroom setup. And all these prepared meals in your freezer, she continued, clicking her tongue. No wonder you're still single. Men want a woman who can cook from scratch. The knife slipped, nearly catching my finger. I work 50-hour weeks, Mom, sometimes more. Well, if you'd let us help with the rent, instead of insisting on paying everything yourself. I own this place, I reminded her. There is no rent. Dad looked up from his newspaper. About that, Princess. Your mother and I have been thinking... The doorbell cut him off. Through the peephole I saw Oscar, my ex, holding a cardboard box. Just dropping off your old law books, he said when I opened the door. Found them while cleaning out the garage. Mum materialized beside me. Oscar, what a surprise! We were just talking about Sarah's single status. I watched Oscar's face shift from friendly to uncomfortable. Mrs. Olson, good to see you. I didn't know you were staying here. Oh, yes, just temporarily while we rent out our house. You know, the one Sarah helped us pay off. Such a blessing to have a devoted daughter. She patted my arm. Though if someone had made an honest woman of her when they had the chance. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom, I warned, but she was on a roll. I mean, 5 years of dating and not even a proposal. Sarah was devastated, weren't you, honey? She cried for weeks. Oscar's jaw tightened. Actually, Mrs. Olson, Sarah ended things because it wasn't right, I cut in. And that was years ago. Oscar, thanks for the books. I'll text you later. After he left, Mum turned to me. You shouldn't be so cold to him. He was the best prospect you've had. I have to get ready for work, I muttered, grabbing my keys. At the office, Brooke took one look at my face and dragged me into the break room. Spill. I told her about the morning's events, about how they'd commandeered my spare room, about the subtle ways they were trying to reshape my life into their vision. You need to set boundaries, she said, stirring her coffee, before they start thinking your house is their new retirement plan. They're my parents, Brooke. What am I supposed to do? Kick them out? Why not? They kicked you out of your office without blinking. That evening I came home late, hoping they'd be asleep. Instead, I found them in my living room with papers spread across the coffee table. Perfect timing, really, Mom was saying. Sarah's always been responsible with money. If we merge the properties into a family trust— What properties? I asked from the doorway. They jumped, shuffling papers quickly. Just discussing retirement planning, Princess, Dad said smoothly. Nothing for you to worry about. But I'd seen enough. Property deeds, trust documents. My address circled in red ink. That night I lay in bed, listening to them whisper in the next room through the too thin walls. Needs to understand family comes first. Her name's already on the mortgage documents. Just a matter of convincing her. My phone lit up with a text from Oscar. Sorry about today. Your mom hasn't changed. I replied, Neither have I. Still fighting the same battles. Remember what you told me when we broke up? I can't keep setting myself on fire to keep others warm. Maybe it's time to follow your own advice. I stared at his message for a long time, remembering why we'd really ended things. Not because of my career, like Mom believed, but because he'd seen how my parents drained me, how I'd learned to make myself small to keep the peace, and he couldn't watch me disappear. Another text came through, this time from Brooke. Check your email. Found some interesting legal precedents about family property disputes, just in case. I opened my laptop, the screen's glow illuminating the dark room. As I read through Brooke's research, something cold and determined settled in my chest. Mum's voice drifted through the wall. Once we're on the deed, we can finally relax. Our Sarah would never let her parents down. They had no idea how wrong they were. We need to talk. I set my coffee mug down hard enough to make them look up from their breakfast. 2 weeks of invasion had pushed me past my breaking point. About what, sweetie? Mom's innocent tone didn't match her sharp eyes. About how long you're planning to stay. And about the trust documents I saw yesterday. Dad folded his newspaper deliberately. Now, Princess. Don't princess me. You're trying to add yourselves to my house deed, aren't you? The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Mom's face did that thing where she transformed from sweet maternal figure to wounded martyr in seconds flat. How could you accuse us of such things? Her voice trembled. After everything we've sacrificed for you. Sacrificed? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. I paid off your mortgage. I gave up promotions to help you, and now you're collecting rent on that house while trying to take over mine. Take over? Dad's voice rose. We're your parents. Everything you have is because of us. I have what I have because I worked for it. Mum burst into tears, right on cue. I carried you for 9 months. I gave up my career to raise you, and this is how you repay us. I gripped the edge of the counter. I've been repaying you my entire life. You're being selfish, Dad declared. Family means supporting each other. Your mother and I need security in our golden years. And what about my security, my space, my right to live without— You're right. Mum's tears vanished. Let me tell you about rights, young lady. Everything you are, everything you've achieved, was only possible because of us. Your education. We drove you to school every day. Your job. Who paid for your first suit? Your confidence. Who told you you could do anything? Who took my college fund? Who guilted me out of every major life decision? Who— Enough! Dad slammed his hand on the table. We're your parents. We know what's best, and if you can't see that, maybe we raised you wrong. The next few days were arctic. They stopped speaking to me directly, instead having loud conversations about ungrateful children when I was within earshot. They invited their friends over without asking, rearranged my furniture while I was at work, and criticised every aspect of my life in stage whispers. At the office, I couldn't focus. Files blurred before my eyes. Deadlines loomed like threats. Luke, my boss, caught me staring blankly at my computer screen. "Sarah?" He closed my office door. "You've been off your game lately. Everything okay?" I opened my mouth to say yes, but what came out was a choked sob. Luke listened as I spilled everything. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "You know, I've been practicing family law for 20 years. Want to know the biggest lesson I've learned?" I wiped my eyes. "What?" "Blood doesn't give anyone the right to abuse your boundaries." That evening I came home to find a thick envelope on my kitchen counter. Inside was a letter formally requesting I consider adding my parents to my deed for security and legacy purposes. Mum appeared in the doorway. "We had a lawyer friend draw it up, just to make things official." "A lawyer friend?" I examined the letterhead. It was from a real estate office that had been disbarred 3 years ago. "We're not getting any younger," she continued. "And really, what else are you going to do with this place? You're not married, no children. We're all you have." The words hit like physical blows, each one calculated to land where I was weakest. But something was different this time. Maybe it was Luke's words, or maybe I'd finally reached my limit. "You're wrong," I said quietly. "I have myself, and that's enough." "Don't be dramatic. Get out." "What did you say?" "I said get out. Of my kitchen. Of my space. You have 30 seconds before I call the police and report trespassers." Dad appeared behind Mum. "You wouldn't dare." I pulled out my phone. "Try me." They retreated, but I heard them in the guest room talking in urgent whispers. Through the wall came Mom's voice. "She'll calm down. She always does. And if she doesn't, well, there are things about Sarah's past that her fancy law firm might find interesting." I sat on my kitchen floor, shaking with rage and fear and something else, something that felt dangerously like freedom. My phone buzzed with a text from Brooke. "How'd it go?" I typed back, "They're threatening to expose my secrets to the firm." Her response was immediate. "Good thing we've been documenting everything. Time to show them who they're really dealing with." I looked at the fake legal letter in my hands and made a decision. If they wanted to play with legal documents, I'd show them what a real one looked like. I found my old journals in a box at the back of my closet, hidden behind winter coats and forgotten shoes. The pages smelled like teenage angst and broken trust. October 15th, 2006. Mom borrowed my college application money again. Said it was for Dad's business opportunity. Found out later they bought a timeshare in Florida. March 3rd, 2007. Dad forged my signature on the withdrawal slip for my savings account. Said it was my duty to help family. The account is empty now. Each entry was a punch to the gut, a reminder that their current behaviour wasn't new. It was just the latest verse in a very old song. My phone rang. It was June, their tenant. "Sarah, I hope it's okay that I'm calling. Your parents gave me your number for emergencies. Is everything all right with the house?" "Actually," she hesitated, "I overheard something I think you should know. Your parents were here yesterday checking on things. They were talking about how they're going to convince you to sign over your house." My hand tightened on the phone. "What exactly did they say?" "They mentioned something about your soft heart, how you'll eventually give in because you always do, and..." She lowered her voice. "They're telling everyone they're going to live with you permanently, that you're going to gift them your house in your will." I thanked her and hung up, my mind racing. A text from Brooke lit up my screen. "Emergency wine night?" At her apartment, I spread out my evidence. The journals, screenshots of bank statements, photos of the fake legal documents they'd tried to pressure me with. "Holy shit," Brooke whispered, flipping through the pages. "This is straight up financial abuse. And look at these patterns. They've been doing this for decades." "I need to stop them," I said, "but they're threatening to reveal my secrets to the firm." Brooke snorted. "What secrets? That time you got a speeding ticket? Or when you dated that guy in accounting? They'll make things up. They're good at that. Then we beat them to the punch. She pulled out her laptop. First, we document everything. Then we set up cameras in your house. Legally, of course. And finally, she grinned, we give them enough rope to hang themselves. The next day, I installed security cameras in my common areas and changed all my passwords. That evening, I heard Mom on the phone in their room. Yes, she's being difficult now, but we have ways of handling Sarah. Did I tell you about the time she almost got arrested in college? Of course, that was just a misunderstanding, but imagine if her firm found out. I pulled out my phone and texted Oscar. Remember when my parents told everyone I almost got arrested in college? His reply was quick. You mean when they called the cops because you were late coming home from study group? I was there. Still have the incident report where the officers said your parents were wasting police resources. Another piece of evidence for my growing file. I spent the next few hours updating my will, explicitly excluding them from any inheritance. Then I called June back. There's something else, she said. They're charging me way above market rate, claiming the extra is for family maintenance, but I've seen them brag to neighbours about pocketing the difference. Would you be willing to put that in writing? Already documented everything. I'm a court reporter. It's kind of my thing. That night I heard them in the kitchen, their voices carrying through the vents. Edmund, what if she really doesn't back down this time? She will. Remember when she wanted to study abroad? One little guilt trip about her sick grandmother, and she gave up her scholarship. But she seems different lately, colder. Then we remind her what family loyalty means. I've already drafted a letter to her firm just in case, a concerned father's worry about his daughter's ethical choices. I sat in my darkened living room, listening to them plot my professional destruction over cups of my expensive tea. The same tea Mom had criticised me for buying just that morning. My phone buzzed with messages from my support network. Brooke, documentation all set. Ready when you are. Oscar, found those old police reports, sending them now. June, rental agreement copies and recorded conversations attached. Luke, my door's always open if you need backup. I opened my laptop and began typing. Dear Mr. Harrison, I'm writing to formally request legal representation in a matter of property rights and harassment. The lawyer's response came within minutes. Ms. Olson, given the evidence you've presented, I believe we have a strong case for immediate action. Shall we discuss strategy tomorrow morning? In my guest room, my parents continued plotting, unaware that their weapon of choice, documentation, was about to be turned against them. They'd taught me well about family loyalty. Too well. Now it was time to show them exactly what I'd learned. I've been thinking about what you said, I announced over breakfast, watching their faces light up with predatory hope. About family unity and securing the future. Mum clasped her hands together. Oh, sweetheart, I knew you'd come around. We should celebrate, I continued, keeping my voice honey sweet. How about a family dinner tomorrow night? I'll cook. Dad beamed. That's my girl. Always knew you'd make the right choice. I spent the next day preparing, but not for dinner. Every conversation was recorded. Every threatening comment, every manipulation, captured by the hidden cameras Brooke had helped me install. Your mother's making her special casserole, Dad said that evening, watching me chop vegetables. The one you loved as a child. How nice! I didn't mention that I'd hated that casserole, that I'd only eaten it because they'd guilt-tripped me about Mom spending hours in the kitchen. The doorbell rang at exactly 7. Mum opened it to find Brooke standing there with a bottle of wine. What's she doing here? Mum's smile turned brittle. I invited her, and a few others, for the celebration. Before they could object, Oscar arrived with dessert. Then June showed up carrying a folder of house maintenance records they'd requested. June! Dad's voice cracked. What a surprise. She's part of the family now, isn't she? I said sweetly. Since she's living in your house. The doorbell rang again. Luke stepped in, followed by Mr. Harrison, the lawyer they didn't know I'd hired. "Sarah," Mom hissed, "what is this?" "Family unity," I replied. "Isn't that what you wanted?" We gathered around my dining room table, the tension thick enough to cut. Mum served her casserole while shooting daggers at my guests. Dad kept clearing his throat, clearly unsure how to manipulate an audience this size. "Before we eat," I said, standing, "I want to share something special." I pulled out a thick manila envelope. "Since we're all here to discuss family property matters." Dad's face reddened. "Princess, perhaps this isn't the time. Actually, it's the perfect time." I opened the envelope. "I have some documents of my own, but first, why don't you show everyone what you brought?" Mum's hand shook as she reached into her purse, producing their fake property transfer papers. "We just want to secure our family's future," she said to the table at large. "Interesting approach," Mr. Harrison spoke up, adjusting his tie, "especially since that letterhead belongs to a disbarred law firm." The colour drained from Dad's face. "Who are you?" "Someone very interested in your creative legal documentation." He turned to June. "Ms. Rodriguez, would you mind sharing what you told me about your rental agreement?" June pulled out her own folder. "The rate is 40% above market value, with the excess allegedly going to family maintenance. I have recordings of Mr. and Mrs. Olson bragging about pocketing the difference." "That's a lie!" Mum stood up, trembling. "Sarah, are you going to let these people attack your parents like this?" "Like you attacked my career." I played the recording from their kitchen conversation about sending letters to my firm. Luke's face darkened as he listened. "We were trying to protect you," Dad insisted, "by forging my signature, by emptying my accounts. I spread out photocopies of old bank statements, by threatening my professional reputation. Everything we did was for you." Mom's voice rose hysterically. "We gave you life, and I gave you everything else." I nodded to Mr. Harrison, who pulled out another document, including the house you're currently renting out for profit, the house I paid off, the house that, according to these records, you've been collecting rent on for 3 months before your emergency need to move in with me. The silence was deafening. Brooke poured herself more wine, watching with barely concealed satisfaction. Oscar studied his plate, a small smile playing at his lips. Dad reached into his jacket and slammed a final envelope onto the table. "Then you leave us no choice. Here's the deed transfer we had drawn up. Your signature is just a formality." "Mom, actually," Mr. Harrison interrupted, "any property transfer would be void, given the documented pattern of coercion and fraud. In fact, my firm is very interested in reviewing all financial interactions between the parties over the past decade." Mom burst into tears. Dad's face turned purple. But before either could speak, I placed one final document on the table. "Don't worry," I said softly. "I've taken care of everything. All you have to do is sign." They stared at the eviction notice, their faces a symphony of shock, rage, and disbelief. "You wouldn't," Mom whispered. I smiled, thinking of all the times they'd said that before, all the times I'd backed down. "Try me." The casserole grew cold as my parents stared at the eviction notice, their faces cycling through emotions like a slot machine. Shock, anger, disbelief, and, finally, their favourite, martyrdom. "After everything we've done for you," Mum whispered, her voice trembling, "you'd throw your own parents out on the street. Just like you threw me out of my office, my peace, my life." Dad slammed his fist on the table, making the wine glasses rattle. "This is outrageous. We're your parents." "Exactly," Mr. Harrison interjected smoothly, "which makes the pattern of financial exploitation even more concerning." "Exploitation!" Mom's voice rose an octave. "We gave her everything, including unauthorized withdrawals from my accounts." I pulled out my old bank statements. "Or the credit card you opened in my name when I was 19. "That was for emergencies," Dad protested. "Like your golf club membership?" June cleared her throat. Should I mention the way you've been overcharging me for rent and claiming it's for property taxes? Stay out of this, Mom snapped. This is family business. Family business? Brooke laughed. Is that what you call fraud these days? Dad stood up, looming over the table. Sarah, if you do this, there's no going back. We'll tell everyone what kind of daughter you really are. You mean a successful paralegal who paid off your mortgage? Luke's quiet voice cut through the tension. Or did you have some other story in mind? She's not the angel you think she is, Mom said, her tears vanishing. Did she tell you about the time she stole money from us? Oscar snorted. You mean when she withdrew her own college fund to pay for your roof repairs? We have proof, Dad threatened, pulling out his phone. Pictures, documents. Fabricated documents, Mr. Harrison corrected. Like the ones you tried to use to claim her house? Would you like to discuss the legal implications of forgery? Mum's face contorted. Sarah, honey, you're not thinking clearly. Let's discuss this privately, just family. Everyone here is family, I said quietly. They're the family I chose, the ones who support me instead of draining me. You ungrateful little... I believe, Mr. Harrison interrupted, the eviction notice requires a response within 48 hours. I suggest you review it carefully. Dad snatched up the document, his hands shaking. This isn't legal. It can't be. Actually, June spoke up, as a court reporter, I can confirm it's perfectly valid. And as your tenant, I can testify about your rental practices if needed. You're all against us, Mom wailed. Our own daughter turning everyone against us. No, I stood up slowly. You did that yourselves. Every manipulation, every guilt trip, every stolen dollar. It was all you. If you do this, Dad's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper, we'll make sure your firm knows everything about the money, the men, the straight A student who worked her way through college, Luke cut in, the paralegal who's never missed a deadline. Please tell me more about my best employee. The room fell silent. Mom's mascara ran in black streaks down her face. Dad's hands crumpled the eviction notice. 48 hours, Mr. Harrison reminded them. After that, we proceed with legal action. You can't be serious, Mom pleaded. Where will we go? Back to your house, I suggested. The one I paid for, or is the rental income too important to give up? This isn't over, Dad growled, grabbing his jacket. Come on, Wendy, we know when we're not wanted. But our things, Mom protested. You have 48 hours to collect them, I said, under supervision. They stormed out, Mum's sobs echoing down the hallway. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Silence fell over the dining room. Brooke reached for the wine bottle. Well, that was intense. Are you okay? Oscar asked softly. I looked around the table at my real family, the ones who'd shown up to support me, to witness my liberation, to stand guard against the tsunami of guilt and manipulation. I'm better than okay, I said, surprising myself with how true it felt. They'll try again, Luke warned. People like that don't give up easily. Let them try. Mr. Harrison gathered his papers. We have everything documented. Their next move will only strengthen our case. June raised her glass. To freedom. To boundaries, Brooke added. To chosen family, Oscar said quietly. I lifted my glass, watching the light catch the wine like liquid courage. Through the walls, I could hear my parents arguing in their room, soon to be just another spare room, empty of their presence and their poison. To taking back my life, I whispered, and drank deeply. The next morning I woke to the sound of shattering glass. I rushed to the kitchen to find Mom deliberately dropping my grandmother's china teacups onto the tile floor, one by one. Dad stood by the counter, methodically ripping pages from my law books. Stop! I grabbed my phone, already dialing. What are you doing? Teaching you about family loyalty, Dad snarled, tearing another page. If we can't have your house, Mum said, dropping another cup, you can't have these precious memories either. I hit record on my phone. You realise you're being filmed? They froze, finally noticing the security cameras in the corners. You'd record your own parents? Mum's voice dripped venom. Well, let me give them something worth watching. She grabbed my laptop from the counter. The front door burst open. 2 police officers entered, followed by Mr. Harrison and a security guard. Perfect timing, I said, still recording. They've been here about 3 minutes. Put the laptop down, ma'am, one officer ordered. This is private property, Dad protested. Yes, Mr. Harrison agreed. Ms. Olson's private property, from which you've been legally evicted. Mum clutched the laptop tighter. We're her parents. We have rights. The right to remain silent, the officer suggested, reaching for his handcuffs. Everything else is up for debate. You wouldn't dare arrest us, Dad stepped forward. Sarah, tell them about the money you owe us. I played back the kitchen recording from my phone. If we can't have your house, you can't have these precious memories either. Destruction of property, Mr. Harrison noted, combined with the earlier threats, financial fraud, and violation of the eviction notice. Mum's face crumpled. We'll tell everyone what you did, how you abandoned us, how you forged my signature. I pulled out the old bank statements, stole my identity, tried to seize my house. Please, tell everyone. I'm sure the police would love to hear all about it. Officers, Dad tried a different approach. This is just a family misunderstanding. Our daughter is confused. Your daughter, Luke's voice came from the doorway, is one of the sharpest legal minds I know, and you're about to find out exactly how sharp. Mum dropped the laptop onto the counter. You're choosing strangers over your own blood. No, I said quietly. I'm choosing myself. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. The officers moved forward with their handcuffs. Dad's face turned purple. If you do this, he growled, you'll regret it. We know things about you, Sarah, things that would ruin you. Like what? I challenged. The college fund you stole, the credit cards you opened in my name, the fake legal documents you tried to use to steal my house. Please share with the officers. They're very interested in fraud cases. Mum burst into tears, real ones this time, not the performative sobs she usually deployed. We gave you life, and I gave you everything else, but not anymore. The officers led them out, reading their rights. Mum wailed about ungrateful children. Dad threatened lawsuits. But their voices grew fainter, and then the door closed behind them. I stood in my destroyed kitchen, surrounded by broken china and torn books. Luke put a hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing. I know, I said, surprised to find I meant it. I just wish that they were different people. He squeezed my shoulder. Some parents don't deserve their children. Mr. Harrison was already on his phone, documenting the damage. We'll add this to the restraining order application. Between this and the financial evidence, they won't be able to come near you or your property again. I picked up a broken teacup handle, the last piece of my grandmother's set. They really thought they could break me by breaking my things. They never understood, Luke said, that you're not your possessions. You're not their possession either. My phone buzzed with a text from June. Police just called. Your parents tried to break into the house here too. Security cameras caught everything, adding it to the evidence file. Another text from Brooke. Just heard, coming over with wine and cleaning supplies, and bubble wrap for anything breakable that survived. And finally from Oscar. You did it. You really did it. Proud of you. I looked around my battlefield of a kitchen, at the broken pieces of my parents' last attempt to control me. They'd tried to shatter my world, not realizing they'd already lost their power to hurt me. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't holding on, it's letting go. I started sweeping up the broken china, each piece a memory I was finally free to leave behind. The doorbell rang as I was hanging the last frame in my home office, the eviction notice mounted beside the restraining order, my own personal declaration of independence. Special delivery, June called through the door, and some interesting news. I let her in. noticing the thick envelope in her hands and the gleam in her eyes. "So," she settled onto my couch, "guess who tried to rent an apartment in my building yesterday?" My stomach tightened. "They wouldn't." "Oh, they would. Your parents showed up with fake references and everything. The landlord recognised them from the police report I'd shared with management." I poured us both coffee. "Where are they staying now?" "With your cousin Rita, apparently. But here's the best part." June pulled out her phone, showing me a social media post. "Rita's already asking around for advice about dealing with difficult house guests who won't leave." The irony made me laugh despite myself. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Your father and I are living in squalor because of you. Is this what you wanted, to see your parents suffer?" Before I could respond, another text came through from Brooke. "Don't answer them. That's what the restraining order is for. Also check your email." I opened my laptop to find an email from Luke. "Sarah, in light of your exceptional handling of the Harrison case, the partners have decided to offer you a promotion. Junior associate, effective immediately. P.S. Your parents' anonymous letters to the firm about your questionable character only proved how professional you are under pressure." June read the email over my shoulder and squealed. "They tried to ruin your career and accidentally launched it instead. This is better than Netflix." The doorbell rang again. This time it was Oscar carrying a houseplant. "Housewarming gift for your new office, since you've reclaimed it and all." "Thanks," I said, taking the plant. "But you didn't have to. I wanted to. Besides, I heard about Rita's Facebook post. Thought you could use a laugh." My phone buzzed again, Rita calling. "Sarah, your parents, they're saying some things. About you, about money they claim you owe them. I thought I should hear your side." I put the phone on speaker. "What exactly are they saying?" "That you stole their retirement, that you tricked them into signing over their house, that you—" "Check your email," I interrupted. "I'm sending you something." I forwarded her the entire documentation file. Bank statements, forged signatures, police reports, everything. The silence on her end was deafening. Finally, "Holy shit, they tried to steal your house?" "Among other things. They've been here 3 days and already borrowed my emergency credit card," Rita said slowly. "And Mom mentioned they did the same thing to you in college. Need my lawyer's number?" "God, yes." After we hung up, Oscar raised an eyebrow. "Karma's working overtime on this one. Speaking of karma," June pulled out the envelope she'd brought. "Your parents' tenant insurance claim for emotional distress was denied. Apparently, trying to illegally seize property doesn't qualify for compensation." I pinned the denial letter next to the eviction notice. My wall of freedom was complete. "Nice gallery," Oscar commented. "Most people hang family photos." "I do have family photos," I gestured to my desk, where a new frame held a picture from the night of the confrontation. Me surrounded by Brooke, June, Oscar and Luke, all raising our glasses. Just not the kind my parents would understand. My phone buzzed one last time, a final text from Mum. "You'll regret choosing strangers over blood." I showed it to June and Oscar. "Should I respond?" "Actually," June grinned, "I have a better idea." She took a photo of my wall of documents, then another of my desk photo, and one more of my new office nameplate. "Sarah Olson, Junior Associate." "Send them these," she said. "No words needed." I hit send, then blocked their numbers. "You know," Oscar said, adjusting the plant he'd brought, "your mom always said you'd never survive without them. But look at you now, thriving." "Because she survived them," June corrected, "which is way more impressive." I looked around my reclaimed office at the evidence of my liberation mounted on the walls, at the friends who'd become family, at the life I'd built despite, or perhaps because of, everything my parents had tried to take from me. The plant Oscar brought was a peace lily. It would need care and attention to thrive, but unlike the toxic relationships I'd pruned away, this one would actually grow into something beautiful, Want to get dinner? June asked. Rita texted that she's kicking them out tomorrow. We should celebrate. I grabbed my keys, leaving the ghosts of guilt and obligation behind, with the mounted documents on my wall. Some families you're born into, others you build from the ashes of what tried to destroy you. I chose the latter, and I chose right.